at the I-84 ramps. Says 3 cars are involved in this one. I can't see it on the cameras, but we definitely have delays stretching back almost to 3000 North in Layton now. And then we still have the closure of 4100 South in West Valley. That is eastbound at 3600 West. All traffic being diverted, and it's back traffic up to 40th West. So you want to avoid 4100 South right around Bangerter Highway if you can. Northbound I-15 still pretty slow coming out of Utah County into downtown Salt Lake. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
Let's get a look at the weather forecast. Today will be sunny with the highs in the upper 70s. A few clouds will move in later this week, but it should be nice highs in the 80s for the rest of the 7-day. Right now it's 63 degrees. I'm Amanda Dixon from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
It was a week ago today that Charlie Kirk was killed while he was speaking to students at the Utah Valley University campus in Orem. A lot has happened in that week, Holly, and not the least of which was that he's now been charged with the crime. That we learned about that yesterday. We'll talk about that later. But we're also learning today that students are coming back on campus.
Yeah, that's right. This is their first day back. So on Monday, faculty and staff were able to go back and have an opportunity to, I'm sure, talk to each other and get ready for students to come back. And today will be the first day that students will be back.
KSL News Radio's Adam Small has been on UVU's campus all morning.
There's a somber feeling here on campus as students and employees make their way in today, and I can see on people's faces they are still struggling with what happened here last week. A memorial to Charlie Kirk here near the roundabout, which has flowers, crosses, balloons, and now chalk-written messages on the pavement in front of it, continues to grow by the day, and many people are stopping by on their way into class or work. And while class is back in session today, you can tell it is going to take everyone down here some time to adjust and heal from what happened. The university is still offering in-person mental health counseling. They have set aside times and places for that for the rest of this week at the very least. At UVU, Adam Small, KSL News Radio.
And we'll have Adam Small joining us later. But, Holly, we talked Monday, like you said, the faculty and staff went back on Monday. I think the university did the right thing. I mean, the shooting occurs Wednesday. Obviously, the school shut down Thursday, Friday. Students come back the following Wednesday. I mean, you've got to get back to school at some point. But it seemed like the timing was about right.
And, one of the things that I'm seeing and hearing, we know that President Astrid Tumenez, she's the president of UVU. She spoke to the UVU community and shared a message. And she knows what it's like to go through grief, right? Because remember, her husband passed away earlier this year unexpectedly.
Right. Yes.
And she took some bereavement leave. And it must be so fresh for her and also relatable to the students, faculty, and staff because she just went through a horrific loss of her own.
And the school has apparently set up some resources for students and people that were there for their benefit. We learned yesterday that even the FBI has joined, has talked about what they're going to do, and they talked to us yesterday on this show.
We have that virtual family assistance center that is located at the Young Living Alumni Center, 1062 West, 800 South in Orem. But also we have an online assistance center found at www.fbi.gov/Orem Victim Assistance. And that's where those impacted can access any resources.
That was FBI Salt Lake City Special Agent in Charge Robert Bowles, who we talked to yesterday on this show.
Yeah, and I actually wondered what resources the FBI did provide. And not only do they have gathered items that were left behind, some of them within the crime scene area and some of them outside but were left as people ran away. But he actually explained to us a little bit more about how victim services through the FBI works.
We work with UVU and local agencies to have a place to where the victims can come in. And what they do, what the victims do when they come in is they get triaged with some specific folks who kind of ask where they were and what happened, and then provide them the opportunity to sit down with one of our victim services. They're immediately assigned a specific victim services person to sit with them and walk with them the whole way through. If they have items that they need to collect, they'll bring them in and have them collect those items. And a lot of times that can be really emotionally challenging because that reminds them of the event. But they'll also take the opportunity to assess if there are any more information as to the crime that they would like to tell us about, and we have agents on hand to be able to talk with them. And then we also have worked with UVU to provide any kind of psychological services that are needed and that they would like to take part in, to be able to give them more short-term and long-term care to recover from the traumatic experience that they were involved in.
I think it'd be really interesting to be a fly on the wall at that quad today and just to watch the students. Because if I was a student there, or even if I was just there today speaking on some whatever, I would want to walk through that just for my own reason, just to kind of see what it was like and experience that venue. And just to kind of get it in perspective, because we've seen pictures of it, and a lot of people were there in person, so they know exactly what it was like, but they probably haven't been back yet. And I assume there are going to be some people milling around that area today. Yeah,
I'm sure that's true. And, the FBI agent, Robert Bowles, did speak about some services that the FBI offers, but we also know that in Utah we have the Safe UT app that you can access, but we also have the 988 number. And even in just 5 days following the event, a 22% increase in people reaching out and accessing that. You know what I found out yesterday? I found out that we had neighbors who had their, I'm going to say she's probably maybe 9th or 10th grader. She was there and she was up at the front, so she was very close.
Very there. Yeah.
Having a hard time sleeping, crying a lot. I, because of our conversation with our clinical psychologist that joined us yesterday, Dr. Golightly, I went home and asked my 11-year-old if she had seen video of the death of Charlie Kirk. And I don't know why I hadn't asked before. And I think part of it was I was thinking more about college-age students and thinking about the show and the things we've been talking about. And I hadn't asked her. And so I said, so did you see the shooting of the guy that was killed at UVU this week? And she said, yep.
Ouch.
And I said, did you talk about that in class? And she said, yeah, the day after it happened, the teacher talked about it and asked if anybody had questions. And I said, did anybody have any questions? And she said, no, not really. And I said, well, did you see the video of the one where you can see the blood? And she said, yes. Remember, she just barely turned 11.
Yeah.
She doesn't have a cell phone, but her friends did, and they showed her. And she said the blood was covered over by an emoji. And I said, well, that's pretty disturbing. So how are you doing? And she goes, I'm okay. And she said, but what is more disturbing, Mom, did you know there was an 11-year-old that was shot and killed because he was doorbell ditching?
Yeah.
And I said, I did know that.
That hits a little closer to home.
Because it's her age, right?
It absolutely does. Yeah, so my son is a 40-year-old orthopedic surgeon and a colonel in the United States Air Force, and he called me. He said, I saw the video, Dad. Don't watch it. He goes, it was troubling. It was disturbing. I mean, he deals with the worst of the worst.
Yeah.
I mean, he served in Afghanistan and South Korea, and he said that was one of the most disturbing things I've ever seen. And I thought, if it bothered him, I mean, I can't imagine what it would be like for people that don't see blood on a daily basis. Yeah, so, people are going back to UVU today, and again, we will touch base with Adam Small a little bit later in the show, but I think what's nice is people are being able to ease back in. Right. I know that assignments, I'm positive, some of them will just be stricken completely from the syllabus. I think some of the requirements might be lightened or loosened a little bit. I think there will be a lot of leeway this semester. Yeah. And I think the first 5 minutes of every class this morning is going to talk about that. Hey, how are we doing? Yeah, that is exactly right. So I learned things from yesterday's very long press conference on the charges being brought against Tyler Robinson, including that it was his mom that first recognized him and got the wheels moving that led to him turning himself in. We're going to talk about that when we come back.
Hey Ryan, you remember that trip we took in our tent trailer down to Southern California?
Oh, that was the best.
Making memories with Paris RV. Hook up to the 2025 Forest River Rockwood 16 OTG for only $9,195 or $148 per month, zero down. Or the 2025 Highland Ridge Open Range 177 BH for only $14,995 or $171 per month, zero down. Or the 2026 Coachman RV Catalina Summit Series 7 134 BHX for only $14,995 or $171 per month, zero down.
Take your family out RVing with Paris RV.
Paris RV is your locally owned, family-run RV dealership. We strive hard to find the very best RVs for the price. With 4 locations, over 1,000 RVs in stock, 42 service bays, and 4 super parts stores, we're sure to help take your family on the best RV vacation. Check out our perfect family bunkhouse trailer, the 26BH, that sleeps 9 for $19,995 or $227 a month, zero down. Life is short. Enjoy it. North Murray, South Murray, Payson, and Pocatello. ParisRV.com.
Everybody knows that exterior remodeling salespeople are all about the high-pressure sell. Am I right? Windows, siding, gutters, those suckers are going to twist your arm and get you to buy, or they won't leave your house at night. Tim Jr. here from RGS Exteriors, and I want you to know we don't have high-pressure sells. In fact, we don't even have salespeople. Nope, we have estimators. That's a huge difference. Estimators are trained to look at the entire scope of the project, to see and know if there are any problems like rotten wood, wood-borne insects, or construction issues specific to your house or your neighbors. Salespeople are more concerned about playing those silly price games. Buy one, get one free, sign today and get 40% off, as if they didn't just jack the price up to give you a fake discount. RGS Exteriors estimators are going to give you a great quote. No games, no tricks, no nonsense. Call RGS Exteriors to quote your exterior project. Our number is 801-280-3110 or visit us at rgsutah.com. That's rgsutah.com.
There's no better place to fall in love with fall than Logan, Utah. Honestly, it's kind of hard to imagine fall right now because it's been so blasted hot this summer. But I promise Logan is the place for cooler temperatures and even cooler events. You absolutely have to come to the Center Street Giant Pumpkin Festival September 27th. These ain't your mama's pumpkins, although I don't really know what that means. But anyway, last year, the record-breaking gourd tipped in at over 2,100 pounds. That's more than 3 grand pianos. Professional pumpkin carvers, family scavenger hunt, activities for kids, live music, more than 100 vendors, and fantastic fall fun. Coming up, we've got the American West Heritage Center's Fall Harvest Festival, the North Logan Pumpkin Walk, 2 giant corn mazes that may or may not be haunted, concerts, historic downtown ghost tours, and more. Don't even ask me when the leaves will be turning because at this point, your guess is as good as mine. But it doesn't matter because whenever you come to Logan, it's always beautiful. Visit ExploreLogan.com to plan your autumn adventures today. ExploreLogan.com.
You're listening to Leaf Filter Radio, and the guru of gutter protection himself, Chris Coonahan, is here to take your most pressing leaf-related questions.
Hey, everybody, Chris here. I understand we have Ron on the line. Ron, where are you calling from?
Uh-oh. Ron, are you calling from a ladder?
Well, I was. I wanted to ask Chris what I need to do to get my gutters ready to have Leaf Filter installed.
Oh, Ron, you don't have to do anything. A Leaf Filter Trusted Pro will come out and clean out your gutters, realign and seal your gutters, and install Leaf Filter, America's #1 gutter protection system.
So I didn't need to get on this ladder?
Ron, Leaf Filter Trusted Pros are in your neighborhood and ready to help. Just visit leaffilter.com/deal to schedule your free gutter inspection and get up to 30% off.
Thank goodness. What was that site?
That's leaffilter.com/deal for your free gutter inspection today. See representative for warranty details. Promotion is 20% off plus a 10% senior or military discount. 1 discount per household.
Utah Rail Safety Week is Monday, September 15th to Sunday, September 21st. Whether you drive, bike, or walk, safety starts with each of us. Learn more at UtahOperationLifesaver.org.
Most of us like to be out in the sun. That's why sunscreen and other safety measures are key to protecting your skin from aging and cancer. The FDA recommends using a sunscreen with a sun protection factor, or SPF, of 15 or higher. Also, look for broad spectrum on the label. That means both harmful ultraviolet A and B rays are blocked. UVA rays age the skin, UVB rays burn, and both cause cancer. But the perfect sunscreen doesn't count if you use it wrong. Don't need sunscreen on a cloudy day? Wrong. 80% of UV rays still get through the haze. Only use sunscreen at the beach? Nope. Anytime you're outside, UV rays attack the skin, so you need protection. And you have to reapply sunscreen every 2 hours. Remember, SPF plus broad spectrum equal healthy fun in the sun. Visit www.fda.gov/sunscreen for more information. A message from the U.S. Food and Drug Administration.
The new Inside Sources.
Yesterday, after our show ended, Utah County Attorney Jeff Gray gave a press conference and laid out the details of the case and laid out the charges. And I want to say something before we get too much further. I'm tangentially involved in this case, I should disclose. I'm helping the county get and find and contract with a public defender or a group of public defenders who can represent Tyler Robinson in connection with this case. I don't represent him. I'm not going to be involved in the prosecution. I know nothing about the facts of the case except what we all learned yesterday. But I am trying to help the county get a public defender for this case. By the way, I've been working with the county for some time, and when they're doing budgeting, because if you think about it, the county attorney represents the county usually in contracting, but it's awkward for him to represent the county when he's bidding and contracting with who's going to be his opponent.
Right.
So when it deals with criminal issues, they brought in outside counsel, and I've been doing that before I started with KSL, and the good people at KSL have allowed me to continue in that capacity. But anyway, we did learn about the charges, and there were more. What surprised me a little bit, Holly, was that they filed more charges than we had expected. That he was booked into jail. We're talking about Tyler Robinson, the person that killed Charlie Kirk, and allegedly. And he was originally booked into jail for aggravated murder, and of course that's the big ticket item, and for obstructing justice and this crime they call felony discharge of a vehicle. So in addition to those charges yesterday, the county attorney announced a total of 7 charges: aggravated murder, felony discharge of a firearm causing serious bodily injury, obstruction of justice twice, and those are for the first 2 counts are sort of self-defining. Obstruction of justice for hiding the gun, and for asking his friend to lie for him, so to speak. Tampering with a witness, again the same thing, for telling people to not say things or not reporting or that type of thing. And you got 2 counts with that. And then a violent offense committed in the presence of a child. That's a Class A misdemeanor. And they could have filed 500 of those counts.
Right.
Because you literally are able to get one of those.
The kids in the crowd.
For every kid in the crowd. So I that was more of a statement charge, I think. But we did hear what the charges are going to be. And maybe a little bit surprisingly, the county attorney announced, and he doesn't have to do this, that he is seeking the death penalty. As soon as he filed the charges, he announced, I'm seeking the death penalty in this case. So it's an aggravated murder. It carries a potential for death, for life in prison without the possibility of parole, or for what would be a 25 to life sentence. But in this case, he's saying, no, we're going to pursue it as a death penalty case, along with these other 6 counts, which are all serious. I mean, the 1 count, obstruction of justice, is a first-degree felony.
Wow.
It carries 5 years to life all by itself.
So when Utah County Attorney Jeff Gray had this press conference and shared the timeline also, he also shared what led Robinson to turn himself in. And this is one of the things that I learned while I was listening. We do have some audio from ABC4 on this, but let's listen to that if we can.
On September 11th, 2025, the day after the shooting, Robinson's mother saw the photo of the shooter in the news and thought the shooter looked like her son. Robinson's mother called her son and asked him where he was. He said he was at home sick and that he had also been at home homesick on September 10th.
And he actually followed up with a conversation that his mother had with his father, who also looked at the pictures and decided that's our son. Now, I can't even imagine anything worse than that, unless you were Charlie Gray's or Charlie Kirk's parents. You know what I mean? Like that would be horrible to learn that your child had been involved in something like this.
I wanted to talk about that for a minute, right? That it's the mom. That was the first time that I had heard it was the mother who first recognized that it looked like her son. And County Attorney Gray, he didn't say what the in-between conversation was with I'm homesick, because she immediately called her son, it sounds like, and said, where are you? And he said he was homesick. Did he just offer, I was also homesick yesterday, right? It was like, that seems a little weird. But
they see a picture of their son,
right? And
they say, what are you doing? I'm home, I'm sick. By the way, I was homesick yesterday too.
Right. And we don't know if there was a follow-up question in there, but I've heard this and I've seen this. We've seen pictures of their house on the news media, both locally and nationally, and we've seen people blaming them. The blame game starts really, really early, and I think it's just so distressing in a lot of ways, right? All of that, but to be the parent who has to say, that is my kid.
Right. And I would say to counter anyone that blames them, they turned him in.
They did.
They turned him in.
They did.
I know the police are saying we solved this case in 33 hours, and they were circling the nets. I don't have any doubt. I heard Greg Rogers, the
Right.
former FBI agent, say, well, once the gun was found, they were going to find the kid. But that could have been a few days later. It could have been any time later, or something could have happened horrible in the meantime.
Right.
Because we also have heard through the press conference that he may have been suicidal at parts.
Right.
But when you know your son has done something like that, it's got to be something that tears you up. Like, what do we do?
Yeah.
Do we? And I think you.
Again, I don't know if there were questions in their mind, right? But I know that from what we learned in the press conference yesterday, that she reached out to her husband. He agreed, or to the father. He agreed, and they were able to convince him to come over, talk to them, and then to be able to convince him to turn himself in.
Yeah, and there was also some intervention we heard from a neighbor or friend who was former law enforcement, former sheriff down there, and I think that he probably was the voice of reason and said, look, and I don't doubt that the parents would have done the right thing anyway, but he said, we've got to do this. And can you imagine, I mean, because they called the local police, I think, and said, hey, we think we've got the person that killed.
Look, also, I just need to say this. We did have a texter ask us, are they eligible for the $100,000 reward? We think they are, but what I've seen, and I don't have independent verification of this, but I saw that the family has turned down that reward, and that does not surprise me at all.
I don't know how you would even take that, but yeah, they were absolutely eligible for it because they turned him in. I mean, they were looking for information leading to his arrest, and they did much more than that.
I think I interrupted you. I think you were trying to say in 33 hours, we caught this guy, but it's like the parents actually set this in motion.
Yeah,
as
but
soon as that first picture was released.
Right. And so I'm not trying to downplay anything law enforcement did. They did a great job.
Exactly.
And we talked about this on Friday or Thursday when the FBI released the picture of him.
Yeah.
Like, they did that very calculated and they had a reason for that because they knew someone was going to recognize it.
Yep.
That was actually the turning point in this case. Even if you look at what the mother said, she saw the picture and said, that's my son.
Yeah.
So the law enforcement did what they needed to do because at some point you've got to let some of your evidence out. And when you're investigating a crime, Holly, you want to keep everything close to the vest, but sometimes you have to say, well, I need to leak some evidence out so that we can get leads because you're getting calls and pretty soon you get a picture of a suspect.
Right.
Anybody know this person?
Right.
If it's your son, you're going to know that person and you're going to say, what's going on here? And I think they also released the photograph of the gun, which was a .30-06 Mauser. But there was something distinctive about it. We don't know exactly what that was. It had
somebody else recognized it too.
Scope that had something.
I think there was a family significance to it.
Yeah, it
or
was his
something.
grandfather or something. So once they saw the gun and the picture, I think that they knew that their son was involved in this.
Yeah. One of the other things that surprised me, and we may have to pick it up after the break, but the amount of detail that was included about text messages. We can talk about it later because I'm already taking all the time, but there was so much detail that the county attorney laid out with text messages between Robinson and his roommate, including basically an admission.
Right. And I think that's part of their probable cause, and I think he went through that pretty thoroughly. And we want to talk about that more after the break because those text messages have actually been the basis for one of the charges that I want to talk about, which is the witness tampering.
Okay.
And how that came about and what information the state had when they charged that based on those text messages. So we'd like to hear exactly what those are from the county attorney's mouth and talk about how they related to the filing of charges. And we'll talk about that after this.
9:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Amanda Dixon. KSL's top story this hour: the man accused of assassinating political activist Charlie Kirk is being charged with 7 counts, including aggravated murder. ABC News chief national correspondent Matt Gutman has the latest.
Utah County Attorney Jeff Gray outlined his case against the suspect, linking him to that single fatal shot, the 31-year-old husband and father of 2.
Robinson's mother saw the photo of the shooter in the news and thought the shooter looked like her son.
Prosecutors say the suspect's father then got Robinson on the phone.
When asked why he did it, Robinson explained there is too much evil, and the guy, referring to Charlie Kirk, spreads too much hate.
The suspect also allegedly telling his roommate he'd been planning the attack for a little over a week.
Prosecutors say they will pursue the death penalty. Other news we're following, the Utah Department of Corrections says they've seen a staffing surge. Executive Jared Garcia tells KSL-TV they had officers working mandatory overtime shifts.
We were down over 400 correctional officers, and that was really challenging because we had just opened a new correctional facility.
37 new cadets were sworn in this week.
Tremendous opportunity for us to teach this new generation of officers on how to do corrections a little bit differently, how to do it better.
The department is attributing the surge to better wages, improved recruitment processes, a culture shift, and a smoother application and hiring process. They do say budget restraints are still an issue, which means some vacancies won't be filled right away. Your money at this moment, the Dow is up 297. Right now we're at 46,053. Coming up, a beautiful day in store. Lots of sunshine and cooler temperatures. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 9:32.
The sources where we get our news matters.
When you listen to Utah's Morning News, we want you to feel the stories are important to you and trustworthy. This is Amanda Dixon.
And I'm Andy Farnsworth. Join us weekday mornings on KSL News Radio.
Amanda, I'm always on the hunt for a deal where I get the highest quality for the best price. I mean, that's what everybody wants, right? But Bedrock Quartz delivers that. They give you the highest end countertops and backsplashes and bathrooms and tiles and all of those things. And right now, you can get the best price ever on what they have.
I love that they've extended this friends and family discount through the month of September. So you literally will pay what an employee of Bedrock Quartz would pay through the month of September. And they did 2 bathrooms at our old place and 1 in our new place. And Andy, there's just nothing like getting in a shower that is as beautiful as it can be with Bedrock Quartz.
You know, if you're in your home and you're not looking to move, but you can still make it feel like new with new countertops or new bathrooms. So right now, when you go into their showroom, the price on the showroom is what it is installed, no additional markup.
And that's true whether it's quartz or quartzite or granite or marble. And they have 100 different options to choose from. So you'll find something you fall in love with.
They're a 4th-generation, family-owned countertop company headquartered in Utah since 1976. Check them out online at bedrockquartz.com.
Hi, Utah families. We all would do anything we could to boost our children's confidence and set them up for success. And Smile Zemi can help. Smile Zemi is the personalized learning tablet designed for students from kindergarten through 5th grade. Smile Zemi adapts to your child's level and learning style, delivering engaging lessons anytime, anywhere. Each lesson offers just right challenges, not too easy, not too hard, keeping learning fresh, motivating, and confidence building. Visit SmileZemi.com to learn more.
Step back in time and discover treasures from every era at Duke's Jewelers Estate Jewelry Trunk Show. Join us September 26th and 27th for a rare chance to shop one-of-a-kind pieces spanning over 200 years of design. From the romantic curves of Victorian jewelry to the flowing artistry of Art Nouveau, the refined elegance of the Edwardian era, and the bold geometry of Art Deco, you'll find history's most iconic styles all in one place. Whether you're drawn to the playful charm of retro designs, the sleek lines of mid-century classics, or the nostalgic sparkle of modern vintage, there's something waiting to tell your story. But remember, this event happens just one weekend a year, and these pieces are truly one of a kind. When they're gone, they're gone. Don't miss the Estate Jewelry Trunk Show, September 26th and 27th at Duke's Jewelers Springville. Duke's Jewelers, where history, artistry, and elegance come together.
Ticket packages for the Utah Mammoth 2025-26 season are available now. From full season and half-season packages to mini plans and other flexible options, choose the ticket package that fits you best and be part of the action all season long. Call or text 801-325-PUCK to talk with a rep or visit nhl.com/Utah/tickets/season tickets to learn more.
We've got emergency traffic and weather brought to you by Mountain America. Turn everyday spending into an extraordinary escape. What's going on, Heather?
Well, we've got a crash southbound I-15 just before you get to the 1600 North exit in Orem. Now, all lanes of traffic were stopped for at least 5 minutes or so while crews tried to clean up some of the debris from this crash. They just opened a couple of the right-hand lanes. You still have 3 left lanes blocked, but traffic is at a standstill and it's backed up almost into American Fork. So that's a few miles of stopped traffic. It's going to take you a while to get through that area in Utah County. Otherwise, most of the other delays have cleared out, especially northbound I-15 and in Ogden on US 89, where we had several crashes right near the I-84 interchange. Cars for Kids, the easiest way to get rid of your old car. Donate today and your car can be picked up tomorrow. Donate now at carsforkids.org. That's cars with a K. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
Today will be sunny with highs in the upper 70s. A few clouds move in, but temperatures will stay in the 80s for the rest of the week. Right now, 63 degrees. I'm Amanda Dixon from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
As we break down the charges that were announced by Utah County Attorney Jeff Gray yesterday at the press conference, of course we know the aggravated murder charge and the felony discharge of a firearm are sort of self-explanatory, but there are some counts that people have asked me about and asked to explain, and those are counts involving obstruction of justice and tampering with the witness. And what the county attorney has alleged, and then we'll talk about it in a little bit more detail, is that the obstruction of justice occurred when he hid the rifle, when he used the rifle and made it so it was unavailable so police couldn't see it. And he did the same thing with his clothes. So he hid his clothes and moved the clothes so that the police couldn't get them. And then the witness tampering dealt with his conversations with his roommate, saying two different things. One is get rid of our text messages, and another one, which is really almost problematic, witness tampering for telling the roommate, if the police contact you, tell them you want a lawyer and don't answer any questions. I think it's just the lawyer in me is, I don't know that giving somebody their constitutional rights is witness tampering, but certainly if I tell a client, if the police want to ask you questions, just tell them do you have an attorney, and ask them to call me. I don't consider that witness tampering, but the county attorney does, and maybe it's different in the sense that he wasn't talking about an attorney or wasn't giving legal advice. He was just talking to his roommate.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that's interesting. And so it was obstruction of justice, right, by hiding things?
Right, obstructing justice by hiding evidence, like the gun.
Right.
And the gun was so after,
and it was wrapped in a towel.
Right. And there was even some conversation between he and his roommate where he said, hey, if I could just get that gun, I think, that was the one thing he left behind that he knew was going to cause him problems.
That it could be traced back.
The gun. And for some reason, well, for a lot of reasons, he dumps the gun in the weeds and then leaves and then sort of regrets not circling back, and he almost uses those exact words in grabbing the gun because, first of all, if it's within a mile of the crime scene, it's going to be found, and it was found very quickly.
Yeah.
That was found the day of the murder.
I think I saw pictures of it online really quickly,
right?
Way before we even had a picture of his face.
Right. So that was found early, and it's a distinctive gun.
Yeah.
It's something about it was very distinctive. So yeah, but he hid it in the bushes, and then sort of regretted not going back to it. And then he did the same thing with his clothes.
So you mentioned the witness tampering and text messages. That was one of the things that really surprised me is how Utah County Attorney Jeff Gray read those aloud. There's a very long string of them, but we do have some sound from that, even from yesterday's press conference.
On September 10th, 2025, the roommate received a text message from Robinson which said, "Drop what you're doing. Look under my keyboard." The roommate looked under the keyboard and found a note that stated, quote, "I had the opportunity to take out Charlie Kirk, and I'm going to take it." Police found a photograph of this note.
Yeah, so that explains that he's his culpability. That's not an admission, but it's sort of arguably an admission. Like, drop what you're doing, look under my keyboard. And then under the keyboard, he finds this note that kind of describes, what he's about to do, or at least if something happens, here's what's going on.
Yeah, he also, Gray also read text messages between Robinson and his roommate that investigators say outline his feelings toward Charlie Kirk.
Roommate, why? Robinson, why did I do it? Roommate, yeah. Robinson, I had enough of his hatred. Some hate can't be negotiated out. If I am able to grab my rifle unseen, I will have left no evidence.
So that's when he has done it, and he's now admitting what we talked about just a second ago. He's now saying, if I'm able to grab my rifle unseen, I will have left no evidence. He didn't grab his rifle unseen, and he did leave significant evidence. But he's saying, I think I got away with it. I don't know. I'm reading between the lines here.
Well, look, we do know this. We do know this about Tyler Robinson. He's very, very smart. At least book smart, right? That he had really good grades in high school. He had a really high, almost perfect ACT score. Maybe he really does think he's all that and a bag of chips, right? I don't know, but it sure looks that way. But my question for you, Mr. Attorney and legal expert, is it normal for this many details to be released so early on in the process?
Normal? No, not at all. Inappropriate? No. I mean, I think the county attorney has the opportunity to give information, but what we usually do, and I was at the district attorney's office here in Salt Lake for 8 years, and we would give press conferences on our high-profile cases, and what you do is you give a sort of a bare-bones summary of your case. In other words, just enough to get you over the hurdle that you've got probable cause, just enough to give the police and the public and the judges enough information that, hey, there's enough here to go to trial.
Yeah.
I don't think you give them your whole jury trial, which I thought was, I mean, I cringed a little bit at times during the press conference when Jeff was talking. Jeff Gray, we're talking about the Utah County Attorney, but I think there was a method to it. I mean, I think he had some idea what he wanted to do, and maybe just there are so many questions, and there it was never going to end, that maybe in his best interest he thought, well, I might as well just get it all out. Otherwise, his press conference is going to go for a week. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I did hear him say that, look, they were going to focus on the investigation. They would not be holding regular press conferences, not even once a week, right? So I think he was setting that expectation there. But will this compromise the trial in any way if you're saying these are all, is there any question that this could compromise the trial?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. So I would say this. I mean, Utah County's a big county, and so they're going to get a trial. They'll get a fair trial, and they'll get a jury. In terms of compromising, I think anyone that saw that press conference or plays it back between now and the time of the jury trial may be tainted by that. They may know information. Some of it may not even be admissible at the trial. So you just have to be careful with that. But I may be saying two different things here. I think the word compromise, maybe I'm overthinking. It's going to make it more difficult to seat a jury, no question. Will they still seat a jury? I believe they will. I don't think this case is going to be moved out of Utah County. I don't think it's going to be moved to Wasatch or Juab counties, which are in the same district there. And I don't think it's appropriate to move it to Salt Lake County. But we'll see what they do. And I'm sure that between now and the time of trial, the defense attorneys are going to question jurors or potential jurors and just the public and say, hey, what do you know about this case? And if they get too many people that say, I can't be fair, then they have no choice but to move it.
Right. Well, it's fair for him to die, right? Look, we have a couple of texters that have asked that just recently, just in the last few minutes. Basically, is the jury pool now tainted? Is it going to make it harder? We've talked about this because I asked you that question earlier. I can't even remember now if it's this week. I think it was this week.
Yeah, it's gone a lot. Well, so we always advised, when I was a chief deputy at the DA's office, I always advised the DA to keep it short and simple, and to not say or do anything over and above what the public sort of already knew at that point.
Yeah.
There's no reason to release new evidence. You just need to give enough evidence so people know, oh, they've got a case.
Yeah.
Not they've got a slam dunk.
I will tell you this about my husband, and he may be unique, but maybe he's not. He doesn't want to know all this stuff. So he gets information from me, but he's not watching the press conference. He's not watching the videos. He's not on social media, right? So he is one person. It's an N of one who's not super tainted, but he lives with me. So
right, but you only need 12 of those people.
That's
and
right.
that's going to be easy to find in Utah County when push comes to shove.
Well, we're going to have another question for you, Mr. Legal Expert. So finding a lawyer for this Tyler Robinson is a challenge. It is going to be a challenge. And I'm going to ask you some more about that. So we'll get into that process when we come back. We're streaming live at KSLNewsRadio.com, and we're on the app for KSL News Radio, and it's sponsored by At Your Service Pros.
I'm Christian Staples with Arctic Spas. One of our values is to do only what is good for our customers in the long term. Our goal is to have you as a happy Arctic Spa customer even 10 years down the road and longer. This means that we only sell and service Arctic Spas. We are built for the long term because we cut your electric bill in half compared to other brands. We do multi-level seating, armrests, adjustable pillows, and 100% massaging jets to make it more comfortable, so you will continue to enjoy it over the long term. The Arctic Spa has automatic saltwater care and automatic pH control. Less worry means you will enjoy it more over the long term. Focusing on Arctic Spa customers gives you a better experience with our knowledge, training, parts, and accessories that you need for the long term. You will enjoy your Arctic Spa longer, making us the least expensive option over the long run. When you're looking for a long-term hot tub with service for the long term, check us out at ArcticSpasUtah.com, covering all of Utah with stores in Salt Lake, American Fork, and St. George. Arctic Spa, the only spa built for Utah's harsh climate, and the best long-term choice for you.
Emergency traffic brought to you by Mountain America. We have 3 miles of pretty much stopped traffic southbound I-15 from 5th East and American Fork almost down to the 1600 North exit in Orem. It's due to a multi-vehicle crash that had closed all lanes of the freeway for about 5 minutes or so. They now have this crash moved over, blocking the HOV lane and left shoulder. It's going to take time for the delays to clear out. But you also have a closure of SR 73 in Saratoga Springs. All westbound lanes are shut down at Mountain View Corridor, also due to a multi-vehicle crash. Wasatch Front businesses and property managers, GoPave Utah provides all asphalt repairs for your parking. For patching and paving along the Wasatch Front, contact GoPave Utah. GoPaveUtah.com. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
You need a deck. You want a pool. We have a plan. If you're looking to start a home improvement project, a discounted home equity line of credit from Zions Bank is an easy, affordable way to turn your home's equity into opportunity. Stop by your local branch to get started or visit zionsbank.com/HELOC to learn more. Loan subject to credit approval. Terms and conditions apply. See banker for details. A division of Zions Bank Corporation, N.A. member FDIC, equal housing lender. NMLS number 467014.
If you've got a gas-powered engine, keep it running like new at every fill-up. Stable in-season protection is your engine's preventative medicine, cleaning and protecting the entire fuel system in season. In outdoor power equipment, prevent gum and varnish buildup that could cause a rough or non-running engine. For cars and trucks, increase fuel efficiency and power by removing deposits, ensuring your engine's long-term health. Stable outperforms the competition in independent lab testing. So at every fill-up, start with Stable.
What is your next success story? At University of Maryland Global Campus, you can succeed again with more than 135 affordable online degrees and certificates to help you move your career forward. From cybersecurity and AI to healthcare and MBA, our programs help you build critical thinking, leadership, and communication skills that set you apart in today's job market. Designed for working adults, focused on the future. Classes start soon. Learn more at umgc.edu. Certified to operate in Virginia by Chev.
Do you know why more homeowners choose Any Hour Services for help when it's time to replace their air conditioners? What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and the main reasons people choose Any Hour Services is because of our people, processes, and convenience. People tell us all the time that there's just something different about having an Any Hour Services technician in their home. That's why most of our over 18,000 Google reviews mention our technicians by name. Another reason is our 7-step install process that we call the Any Hour Difference. It all starts with the needs analysis, where you explain what you like and dislike about your current system. This helps us design and size a system that fits your comfort and efficiency preferences as well as your home's airflow requirements. As for convenience, most of our installs are completed in one day. We also have flexible, no-money down financing options available, even if you've been told no in the past. So if you've been thinking about getting a new air conditioner, call Any Hour Services and schedule a free estimate today. Google Any Hour Services or schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Hey guys, it's Woodrow from Mint Medical Clinic. Are you struggling with ED? Well, you are not alone, and now there's a real solution that treats the root cause, not just the symptoms. Introducing our Trifecta approach, a breakthrough combination of acoustic wave therapy, hormone replacement, and cryotherapy, all designed to restore blood flow, boost performance, and rebalance your hormones. Whether it's ED or hormonal imbalance, if you're ready to reignite your love life, this treatment helps bring back your energy, your drive, and your confidence. And right now, when you call, you'll receive a free consultation, a blood flow ultrasound, and an intimacy gift. That's a $650 value, absolutely free. And here's the bonus. The next 20 callers will also receive a 5-night stay at a luxury resort in Hawaii just for taking the first step. But you must call now. With 2 convenient locations in Layton and Sandy, help is closer than you think. Call 801-804-8000 now. That's 801-804-8000. Mint Medical Clinic. We'll get you back to mint condition.
Gillette Services is putting $1,000 in your pocket with a rebate on new installations. Call 385-GET-HEAT for a free estimate. Gillette Services. Comfort now, pay later.
And expanded Inside Sources. Inside Sources.
Yesterday, suspect in the murder of Charlie Kirk made his first court appearance. This was in Utah County at 3 o'clock. We talked about the press conference that occurred at noon, but 3 hours later, he appeared before a judge in the 4th District Court. This was Judge Tony Graff.
And this was virtually.
Case 251-403-576, State of Utah versus Tyler James Robinson. Could you state your name?
Tyler James Robinson.
You're exactly right. It was virtual, except for me. I was the only person in the courtroom. It was awkward, as you can imagine. But yeah, you're exactly right. Tyler was there. Tyler Robinson was there virtually from the Utah County Jail. It was weird because he was wearing it looked like a bulletproof vest or something.
It did, and I had a question about that too. And sorry to jump in over the sound. That's my bad. Still learning. But yeah, it looked like a bulletproof vest, but then I saw some other things online that it was a suicide prevention vest, which I don't even know what that means, except that it doesn't have strings on it. But he also didn't look like he had a shirt on.
Yeah, it looked like he was just wearing it like a tank top.
Yeah.
I don't know. But if he is on suicide watch, Holly, they would restrict the clothing that he wears, and maybe that would be appropriate. I mean, he can't just be shirtless, so especially in court. So they wouldn't let him be shirtless in the jail anyway. But they probably put him in clothing that he couldn't harm himself with. Maybe it's even got like a secure zipper, so he can't take it off.
Yeah.
Because there are lots of ways that people can harm themselves with their clothing, and socks and shoelaces and things like that.
Yeah. So the chart. So we knew what the charges were going to be at noon. He does a virtual hearing at 3 o'clock, and the judge just asks him if he understands the charges. Is that correct?
Yes, and also says, I'm going to read the charges. And if you recall, that was sort of a long, arduous process. And I was standing at the podium. I should have sat down, but I was just stood there the whole time. So the judge read all 7 counts and read them. You are charged with aggravated murder in that on or about September 10th, 2025. You took the death of, Charlie Kirk under the following circumstances. And then he read each one, and he went through that 7 times, which was entirely appropriate.
Right.
You sometimes, if let's say you're charged with a less serious crime, the judge will say, do you know what you're charged with? Do you need me to read it? And people will say, no, I've got a copy of it here. Yeah. But the judge in this case, you can't take any chances on a death penalty case.
And he was also told, right, in some fashion, that he was facing the death penalty, that the state was going to seek the death penalty in this case.
Right, exactly. And so the judge says, here is what you're charged with. Then he went to bail, which is the conditions of your release. The state has said that because this is a death penalty case, they are going to ask for no bail, and the judge says, and I'm going to approve that. So in other words, here's what you're charged with, and here's where you're going to be sitting until this is resolved. And then question 3 comes up, which is, who's going to represent you? And that was my role, as we talked about, because
you are not representing him, just to be clear.
Right. I'm trying to get him an attorney and working with the county, who has been incredibly gracious in helping get that done, and contacting lawyers from around the community just to see if we can get somebody lined out, because you have to contract with those on an individual basis.
Right.
And it happens all the time in Utah. It's not uncommon. It's sort of pronounced in this case because of the notoriety of the case. It's not something I haven't done before. It's just something nobody's known that I've done.
So let's break it down again for the people who are listening. Maybe they're tuning in for the first time because they saw your face and your name yesterday. Why is the process have some extra steps to this?
Yeah, so in most counties, when you have a death penalty case, you have a public defender, and we have public defenders all over this place. But when you do a death penalty case, it's not like a normal case. There's much more work involved. There are experts involved, and you've got to get mitigation people, and they won't even let you do a death penalty case unless you have at least 2 attorneys. So we often sort of look at those almost a la carte. We're going to budget this case on its own, And so that's what we're doing in that case. We're trying to get a budget for attorneys, and it's you also have to have what are called Rule 8 qualified lawyers. And unfortunately, call them death qualified, but you're qualified to do a death penalty case, which means, no offense to divorce lawyers because my law partner is one, but if your whole practice has been family law, you're probably not Rule 8 qualified. You know what I mean? Or if you do wills and estates.
Sure.
So and even if you do, DUIs all day, you're not going to qualify. And I don't have the list here of everything, but you have to have tried X number of murder cases. You have to have at least been involved in a prosecution or defense of a death penalty case. So sometimes you might be second chair or third chair or something like that. And then there's a lot of what we call CLE, continuing legal education, specifically directed to death penalty cases. There's a little bit more than that, but you have to be qualified. It's called Rule 8 qualified. And there are probably 20 or 30 attorneys in Utah that are Rule 8 qualified.
Right.
I'm among that group. And then you pick from that pool. There may even be more than that because not everyone who's qualified throws their name in the pool.
Right.
You might be qualified and say, but no thanks, I'm not going to take any case.
Let me ask you another question. So you said 2 attorneys have to do that. They both have to be Rule 8 qualified.
No, one.
Okay, one does.
And actually, you can have the combination of them. Like one has done this and one has done that.
Oh,
and so
interesting.
as a team, they're qualified,
Okay.
if that makes sense. I think that's the rule. But anyway, they have to be Rule 8 qualified.
Okay.
And sometimes you can say, well, I need to take the classes, and you can appoint an attorney and say, by the way, you need to take the classes before this case goes too much further. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
sure.
Because
Sure.
there's a high level of education you have to have for death penalty cases.
Right.
Because the rules are just different. Everything's
Right.
different.
Right.
I mean, we even in a regular murder case, it's treated like a felony case. You have 8 jurors. You go through the process. You pick the jury and whatnot. In a death penalty case, you have 12 jurors.
Mm-hmm.
It's the only crime in Utah. Now, federal cases are all 12 felonies, but in Utah, in death penalty cases, you get 12 jurors. And of course, we know under Utah law, a jury verdict has to be unanimous. So you've got to sell 12 out of 12 before you can be found guilty or not guilty. It's got to be unanimous, no matter what. But another very unique part of a death penalty case is that the jury, it's the only case in the criminal world where the jury decides the punishment. Usually you go through a trial, you say, jury says guilty, the judge says, thanks for your time, see you later, bye.
Right.
And then the judge says, I'll put you on probation, I'll send you to prison.
Right.
In a death penalty case, if the jury comes back, in any case, I'm not talking about this one in particular, and they say guilty, the judge will say, okay, let's start trial number 2 next week. And then you have a separate trial called the penalty phase.
Oh, interesting.
And
with the same pool of jurors.
Same pool of jurors, same judge, same lawyers on both sides. And then they hear evidence that wouldn't necessarily come out in trial because now you're looking at punishment. And so things could come out that wouldn't be admissible at trial that could be in terms of punishment. For example, if a defendant had, he'd helped somebody cross the street. That's a bad example, but he'd had some struggles in junior high, or he had done some good deeds, or he became an Eagle Scout.
Mitigating circumstances.
Things like that don't have anything to do with whether you're guilty or not, but they may have a lot to do with whether you're a good or bad person. And the contrary would be true. Maybe somebody could say, boy, I went to school with him and he cheated on his tests, or he was always in fights or something like that wouldn't be relevant to guilt.
Pretty sure you're playing these down, but yeah.
But right, yes.
Exactly.
But they might be.
Yeah.
And I bet a defense attorney puts his mom on the stand.
Yeah.
Tell us about this kid. Tell us about what he's been through. Try to get to the jurors and get 1 or 2 that will say, ugh, I don't know if we should have, vote for execution. So, it's a tough decision you have to make.
Yeah. So I actually just learned a whole lot from you that I didn't know about that. So could the jury also come back, and we only have a few seconds, but could the jury come back and say, we're recommending life in prison without the possibility of parole? Can they do that?
Yes. They'll be given 3 choices.
Oh, okay.
And the jury decides.
Okay.
Like I say, it's the only crime where they do that. They can pick death. They can pick life in prison without the possibility of parole, or they can pick life, which in Utah means 25 to life.
Which means they could have parole.
After 25 years.
After 25 years.
Theoretically have parole.
Oh.
Now, I've practiced for 43 years. I've never seen a case like this where the person was granted parole, even if it was a 25 to life.
Interesting.
The State Department has been reportedly denying visas to people celebrating the murder of Charlie Kirk, according to the U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio. Is that a step too far? We're going to talk about that after the break.
FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
10 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Amanda Dixon. KSL's top story, FBI Director Kash Patel confirmed agents are investigating more than 20 people with alleged ties to the man suspected of killing Charlie Kirk that messaged each other through a Discord chat. Patel also says Tyler Robinson joked in the Discord chat that a doppelganger was trying to get him in trouble after photos of the shooting suspect were released. Our top national story this hour from ABC News, an arrest has been made in the July theft of Beyoncé's unreleased music.
A dancer and choreographer said thieves broke into their rented SUV, stealing numerous items, including designer clothes, laptops, and jump drives containing Queen Bee's set lists and unheard songs.
They have my computers, and it's really, really important information in there.
And although an arrest has been made, those stolen hard drives storing the intellectual property of one of music's biggest stars have not been recovered.
ABC's Sam Champion reporting. The Missionary Training Center in Provo is about to go under some major renovations. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints says it will demolish and rebuild the administrative offices and the cafeteria. The church says it will take a few years to complete, but the MTC will stay open during construction. Your money at this moment. Let's see what the markets are doing now. The Dow is up 330 points now. That's 0.75%. We're at 46,088. Coming up, plenty of sunshine today. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 10:02. Mornings are for recharging.
And they're for starting your day right.
We volunteer to join you in the car. Get news and weather at 102.7 FM during the most important part of your day.
Andy and Amanda, each morning between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
Power outages happen year-round, and they're always unexpected. What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and some people have medical equipment that needs to stay on, or maybe you don't want the hundreds of dollars of food in the freezer to spoil. Regardless of the reasons, Any Hour Services can help with a backup generator. Now, a lot of people think that backup generators cost thousands of dollars, but we have packages that'll run the essentials and start at less than $2,500. That includes the generator, the connections from the generator to the house, and the installation. We also carry and install larger generators that can run the whole house and kick on automatically when the power goes out. Of course, those cost more, but if you call right now, you can save $1,000 on any standby generator purchase over 9,000 watts. A licensed electrician from Any Hour Services will walk you through the process and show you what options are available. And if you need it, we have flexible financing options available, even if you've been told no in the past. To schedule a free estimate, call Any Hour Services today. Google Any Hour Services or schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
If you're ready to buy a home or sell a home and you're worried about the current real estate market because of what you've heard from some of your friends or family, well, we're here to tell you that you really shouldn't be worried, because now is a great time to buy and sell with our friends at the Stern Team, powered by Almada Real Estate.
And here's why. Buyers have more options due to increased inventory, which gives them the power to negotiate for repairs, interest rate buy-downs, and closing cost assistance. While at the same time, sellers are still getting top dollar for their homes, with home values that are higher today than ever before. So whether you're looking to buy or sell, the current real estate market presents a win-win opportunity for both buyers and sellers.
But you still do want to make sure that you're working with a team of real estate experts you can trust that can get you some great results. And that's our friends at the Stern Team, powered by Almada Real Estate.
They have helped thousands of Salt Lake City homeowners, and they're ready to help you. To get started, just go to thesternteam.com. That's thesternteam.com, or Google The Stern Team.
I'm Ed Evans, CEO of Consumer Cellular. We're dedicated to serving people 50 and up like me. Our needs are different. Big Wireless wants us in an unlimited plan, but if you're not using all that data, you're probably getting used. At Consumer Cellular, we're focused on affordable, reliable plans, including data that suits your needs, not ours. Our plans start at just $20, and you'll get the best customer service in the business.
Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com/facts. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. See site for additional facts.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free.
That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
We still have emergency traffic and weather brought to you by Mountain America. Turn everyday spending into an extraordinary escape. And here's Heather Kelly.
Well, we've got 5 miles of stop-and-go traffic southbound I-15 from Pioneer Crossing in American Fork to just before the 1600 North exit in Orem. This originally started with a multi-vehicle crash right before you get to Orem that had stopped all lanes of the freeway for at least 5 minutes, so traffic quickly backed up. Then we have a secondary crash just after Pioneer Crossing in American Fork. That had been blocking a center lane of traffic. They just got themselves moved over to the right shoulder, but that continues to back traffic up. You also have huge delays if you're anywhere near Eagle Mountain, Saratoga Springs. A multi-vehicle crash right in the middle of the intersection of SR 73 and Mountain View had blocked all westbound lanes of traffic. They now have one of those westbound lanes open, but it's also affecting northbound and eastbound travel as well. We have a new crash in the Salt Lake Valley. This is on Bangerter Highway southbound, right near the ramps to I-15. That is starting to cause backups in the area. And 4100 South and West Valley City remains shut down. This has been closed for several hours eastbound due to a very serious crash, all traffic being diverted at 3600 West. While you're planning your day, plan for comfort too with the Good Feet store. Find the location nearest you at goodfeet.com. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
77 and sunshine today, 82 tomorrow. Just a slight chance of a shower on Saturday and Sunday. Right now it's sunny and 64 degrees. I'm Amanda Dixon from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
You know, one of the things I really enjoy about this show, Holly, is that sometimes we learn as much from our listeners as they do from us. And we were wondering at the last segment what it was that Tyler Robinson was wearing yesterday.
Yeah.
Because we were looking at this vest, this sort of odd-looking thing. I thought it was a bulletproof vest, and we learned that it maybe isn't.
We have a texter who told us that he was wearing an anti-suicide vest, which means he's on suicide watch. It's made of fabric that cannot be torn and does not have zippers or strings that can be used for strangulation or other forms of self-harm.
So we did. That's pretty close to what I guessed it may have been. That's interesting. And a couple of questions that we got also.
We did. So we had a couple that you already answered about the jury selection. Is it going to make it harder because the level of detail that was released? But we also had a new one where a texter says, my question for Greg, why would these attorneys even want to take on this kind of case?
Yeah, that's interesting. And people ask me that all the time too. So I'll say this. If I was not working at KSL and somebody called me to take this case, I would jump at it. I wouldn't go seek it out by any means, because the pay on death penalty cases is not great. But if a judge called me and said, scored it, as they do periodically, will you just take this case? It's this or that. I mean, it would be so fascinating. It'd be so interesting on so many levels. And I know that sounds selfish, but I have had. I don't think I'm talking out of line here, because I've been calling attorneys and I get sort of 3 responses. Mm-hmm. One is not in a million years. I am not taking this case. My law firm doesn't need the publicity. Or I had one person who say, "Hey, I've got kids in high school. I can't have this." And then you get attorneys who are like, "Well, I can, but I don't know that this is." It's going to take a lot of time. I got to shut down my practice. I'm going to need a tremendous amount of money. And then you get people that will say, and I don't blame any of the attorneys, I'm not being critical. Some people will say, if you need me to, I will. But see what else you can find. So we're down to about 3 or 4 attorneys that are attorney groups rather. My wife and I used to practice law, and the other night we were talking, and she said, "You and I could do this case. It would be interesting to do it."
Yeah.
I mean,
quit everything else in your life
and make sure that nobody knows where you live. But
right,
that's the problem with it.
I do have a question. Yeah, right. Do they have? Are there concerns for their public safety? I mean, this is so high profile. I can imagine that even the attorneys are going to be under scrutiny.
Yeah, just from my
under threat even.
Right. From my own experience last night, I left the court, and for some reason, a number of people, including media outlets, thought I was the attorney.
Yeah.
And so the calls I was getting were,
gosh.
I drove from Provo to my home in the Ogden Valley.
Yeah, don't say where it is anymore.
Right, yeah. But I was just getting these calls, and even some of my friends are like, Skordas, what are you doing? Like, you're too old. My kids are like, Dad, you're supposed to be dialing it back. Go, you're doing this KSL thing now. Don't practice. I'm like, no, I'm just helping somebody. But no, I think it would be a career, a very interesting case for a career. And I was at the DA's office and had the DA contacted me with the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
I would have said, sign me up.
Yeah.
I will do this case. I'd love to do this case. And I absolutely did not like doing death penalty cases as a prosecutor because I have mixed feelings about them. But it's the law.
Yeah.
It's the law. And so I supported the law.
I have a relative of a friend, so not direct, but they did a high-profile death penalty case, and one of the reasons, of course, my question is, why would you take this case? And their reason was everybody deserves a good defense. In our system, we believe that you are innocent until you are proven guilty.
Yeah, and
not in the public court of opinion.
And I still do public defender cases for the federal government, or at least I did until we started my new career change. But judges would call you, and sometimes you just cringe, like, I don't want that case. But if you get called by a judge and the judge says, hey, we sure need some help on this case, what do? You say, yes, I'll take it. The pay's not great, the work's not good, and sometimes you make enemies, but that's what we do. If you're not practicing in the criminal world, you don't get the call.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be
that sounds weird, by the way.
Right. Yeah.
If you're not practicing in the criminal world, it makes you sound like a mob.
Right. Yes. Right.
boss.
But my law partner who does family law doesn't get called, but I do, and I'm still on the panel for the federal courts when their public defenders have a conflict when they need help from outside counsel.
We have two more texts that we'll go to, so
Uh-oh.
I think we're going to push the Marco Rubio thing to the next segment. But look, this is one from a texter who said, "I've always been pro death penalty." And I know this case qualifies, but in your opinion, don't you think this is just going to add fuel to the fire that's dividing our country? Look, there's a real conversation to be had around that.
Yeah, and I don't want to. I mean, I could see this case from both sides. Like I said, I would love to prosecute this case. I would love to defend this case. I think it's a defensible case on the death penalty because he's a kid. He's 22. On the other side, as a prosecutor, I can't think of a worse case. What he's done in the bigger picture, even besides the homicide, which was inexcusable and which was, if he did it, an act of cowardice, what it's done to our country. And I think as you can sort of weave that into your case if you're a prosecutor. But on the other hand, he's a kid who is a 22-year-old who is radicalized and probably hasn't done other bad things in his life.
We have another texter who said Charlie believed in the law and everyone deserved a fair trial. And somebody also says, doesn't a confession, in quotes, but carry a heck of a lot of weight? And somebody said, are you guys going to talk about anything else? Because I'm tired of listening to this.
That's a good point.
That's a fair question.
I love that person.
Fair question.
Yeah, we're actually moving on pretty quickly from that.
No, we're not, actually.
Well, that's true. We'll figure something out.
But we really do love the input from our listeners, and thank you for texting us. It's we didn't even ask you to text in, but so many of you have just said, hey, I want to weigh in, and that's really been great. So we did have another one, and this came in earlier, and we didn't this is a question I can't answer. Speaking of fuel to the fire, why hasn't the president called for an end to violence on both sides? He's the president. That's his job. I can't answer that question for you.
Do not go down that road.
So I do have, there was one other one who said.
There was one of the questions that I did want to respond to.
Yeah, no, say it.
I don't remember what it was.
Okay.
List a couple.
So it was, gosh, I got to find it. Hold on. It really was saying about somebody who was there, that they had somebody who was really
it was
close.
about Charlie Kirk, that he was
I said that. He believed in the law and that everyone deserved a fair trial.
And I think that he would have said, get him a good lawyer.
And Charlie
have a fair trial.
also believed in the First Amendment, and that's part of our discussion that we're going to have coming up in the next segment. So let me just share this really quickly. So this is somebody who's a former paramedic. My next-door neighbor had 3 children in the front row standing next to the person asking questions. They witnessed the whole thing, and this person went over, had a nice conversation with the neighbors about trauma and making it or using it to strengthen yourself instead of using it where they've seen one bad thing and it can ruin the rest of your life. I've seen 5,000 bad things, so there's a way to deal with it. Look, there is. And sometimes it takes professional help to deal with it for sure.
We love our listeners. We love our texters.
We do. Thank you so much.
We'll be back in just a minute, and we'll talk about. We're going to pivot just a little bit from this. Stay with us.
Emergency traffic brought to you by Mountain America. We still have about 3.5-4 miles of delay southbound I-15 leaving American Fork heading toward Orem. It was all due to an earlier crash that's now been cleared, so hopefully these delays will clear out quickly. But if you are on SR 73 and near Saratoga Springs, that still has huge backups. Westbound as you try to get to Mountain View, that is due to a multi-vehicle crash still in the cleanup stages, blocking most of the lanes of travel. Wasatch Front businesses and property managers, GoPave Utah provides all asphalt repairs for your parking. For patching and paving along the Wasatch Front, contact GoPave Utah. GoPaveUtah.com. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
There's no better place to fall in love with fall than Logan, Utah. Honestly, it's kind of hard to imagine fall right now because it's been so blasted hot this summer. But I promise Logan is the place for cooler temperatures and even cooler events. You absolutely have to come to the Center Street Giant Pumpkin Festival September 27th. These ain't your mama's pumpkins, although I don't really know what that means. But anyway, last year, the record-breaking gourd tipped in at over 2,100 pounds. That's more than 3 grand pianos. Professional pumpkin carvers, family scavenger hunt, activities for kids, live music, more than 100 vendors, and fantastic fall fun. Coming up, we've got the American West Heritage Center's Fall Harvest Festival, the North Logan Pumpkin Walk, 2 giant corn mazes that may or may not be haunted, concerts, historic downtown ghost tours, and more. Don't even ask me when the leaves will be turning because at this point, your guess is as good as mine. But it doesn't matter because whenever you come to Logan, it's always beautiful. Visit ExploreLogan.com to plan your autumn adventures today. ExploreLogan.com.
Let's go! You're still glowing, flirting, grooving. You've still got it. But your immune system weakens as you age, making it harder to fight flu, pneumococcal pneumonia, RSV, and COVID-19. Vaccines are a key part of any health routine and help strengthen your immune response. Ask your doctor or pharmacist which vaccines you need. Schedule in minutes at VaxAssist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
This is the story of the one. As a custodial supervisor at a high school, he knows that during cold and flu season, germs spread fast. It's why he partners with Grainger to stay fully stocked on the products and supplies he needs, from tissues to disinfectants to floor scrubbers. All so that he can help students, staff, and teachers stay healthy and focused. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
At Peach Windows and Doors, they help homeowners stay in the homes they love while upgrading to the elegance, efficiency, and natural light of today. With hundreds of 5-star Google reviews, their clients know Peach Windows and Doors deliver what they promise.
I wanted to replace standard-size French doors with a large custom sliding door. The update required checking a weight-bearing wall. Plus, I wanted a couple of different styles of windows. The new sliding door created a much brighter and open look. Peach was so helpful along the way with recommendations and ideas, and the installers were efficient and respectful of my space. I was thrilled with Peach Windows and Doors.
Give your $1 million home the $1 million feel it deserves. Don't wait on that someday project. Visit Peach Windows and Doors Salt Lake Showroom. Schedule a free in-home visit. You can also explore at peachwindowsanddoors.com or just call them at 801-566-1255. Peach Windows and Doors, where amazing home transformations begin.
In today's digital world, outdated technology can slow you down. You need a partner who keeps you ahead of the curve. At Les Olson IT, we help your business thrive with top-tier office technology, from copiers and IT hardware to advanced IT services and security solutions. With Les Olson IT, you get more than just products. You get solutions, service, and a team that cares. Les Olson IT, empowering businesses with the tools for success.
Les Olson IT.
When it comes to vaping, the truth can get clouded. So let's make it clear. Vaping is not safe for kids, teens, or young adults. It's just not.
Because vaping can put microscopic particles into your lungs.
And dangerous things like metals and volatile organic compounds into your body.
And nicotine, the same highly addictive substance found in regular cigarettes.
Nicotine can harm a person's brain development through their mid-20s.
Affecting learning, memory, attention, and impulse control.
and priming the brain for other addictions.
Vaping products also come in kid-friendly flavors that can make them appealing to youth.
And many kids also use other drugs, like marijuana, in vaping devices.
With appealing flavors, high nicotine levels, and lots of promotion on social media,
many kids think vaping is harmless, but it's not.
So talk to your kids about the risks of vaping, because when you talk, they hear you.
For more information, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
And expanded Inside Sources.
We hear you, listeners, and we're trying to report the news, and a lot of people say we need to know information, and some people are saying, well, can we just talk about something
depressing.
happy? so Holly has a challenge to our texters, 57500. Text us what, Holly?
Your best good news story of the last couple of days,
and
right?
we will make it a segment.
We will.
Give us
good
your
news
best
stories.
good news story of the last couple of days, and we will
Good
research
News
it.
Wednesday.
and because there is a lot of good news. There's a lot of good things. There are
most of our stories right now are depressing.
Right.
We know that.
They say that people enjoy the news when they're getting, they get
information.
as much as possible. We're trying to give as much information about this case because I think there are a lot of questions about the death, about the defendant, and I can assure you that it will be old news in a day or two.
It still has legs, right? We know that. It's still being talked about. It's still an international story. But we did have this one texter. It's fascinating. The more we talk about this case, the more answers to questions we get, the more closures we can get. Keep up the great work, Greg. You're great.
There we go.
Thanks for that. Okay, so the story we need to talk about right now is that the U.S. State Department is denying visas to those who celebrate Charlie Kirk's death. So this is not talking about U.S. citizens at this point, but we're going to talk about U.S. citizens who have lost jobs over it. So Marco Rubio did confirm that the department will not issue visas to people who were, quote, celebrating the shooting death of Charlie Kirk.
Okay, so what they're saying is, I guess if you're applying for a visa, they're probably going to go through your social.
They already, they've made that clear. They're going through your social.
Yeah, your social media, comments that you've made, that type of thing.
Yep.
And if you are celebrating the murder of Charlie Kirk, they're going to deny your visa. So, I mean, somebody's asked, is that a denial of your First Amendment right? I would say no. I mean, because first of all, you're not even in. Your comments.
There's a couple of questions. Yeah,
right,
go ahead.
So I was going to say, what you say in your home country isn't necessarily protected. I don't know. I'm talking in circles here. By the First Amendment, we don't typically punish people for comments they make, but if they're inflammatory and it's discretionary whether you should be granted a visa. And I don't know to what level it's discretionary or it's a right. Maybe the State Department could.
There's no right to a visa.
Right. So, but maybe the State Department can put a greater level of scrutiny.
Yeah,
on
for sure. For sure they do. For sure they do. But I have a couple of questions. So one of them, we already know that with increased scrutiny on immigration. I think I've been clear. I think the legal immigration system is broken. That needs reform as well. But they've already said, look, we're going to be scrutinizing your social media accounts. So, basically, don't even apply if you've got stuff on there that's disparaging of the United States, disparaging of President Trump. Right now, they're saying, if you celebrate the murder of Charlie Kirk. So, anybody who is going to apply for a visa, they were already put on notice. Your social media is going to be scoured. And by the way, if you have no social media, that's also suspect because everybody has social media.
Because everybody's got social media.
Not my husband, but
Right,
everybody. But here's my question: is what does celebrating look like? And I have seen some online posts that I would say are probably celebratory, but I've seen a lot that are not celebratory in my book that people are saying, well, that is celebrating the death of a public figure. And I don't see it that way, right? So being able to define what celebration means is something also.
Yeah, I was just thinking some of the posts that I've seen have said, it's terrible what happened, but here are things he has said and
direct quotes, right?
Direct quotes, and there's no excuse for what happened, but here's what the man has stood for, and I guess I don't know if that I wouldn't call that a celebration, but the State Department might.
Right, that's right. And they have, and people have lost their jobs. So we're going to go into a conversation about the First Amendment. So Attorney General Pam Bondi warned during a podcast on Monday, today's Wednesday, on Monday, that the Trump administration will, quote, absolutely target you, go after you if you are targeting anyone with hate speech. And She has come under fire for that, actually.
Yeah, because they're saying, well, wait a minute, that is protected by the First Amendment.
Well, that's right. That's what people are saying. So first of all, even Charlie Kirk himself has said hate speech is speech, whether you call it that or not, right? People should have the right to speak their minds, and that's what he was doing. We know that, and there were people who say what Charlie was saying was hate speech. Anyway, one of the things that she said is that she had authority to investigate businesses that refused to print memorial vigil posters for Charlie Kirk, right? So if a business said for their own employees, you can't use business supplies to print a color poster for this Charlie Kirk this Charlie Kirk memorial, people are saying that's crossing the line. That's crossing the line of what the government can do.
Right. And it is interesting. Yesterday on Maria Chaleo's show, she spoke with a First Amendment attorney and friend of mine, David Ryman, about how this is unfolding in the workplace. And he's a First Amendment lawyer, but he reminded us what it says.
The First Amendment, it's a common misconception that the First Amendment prevents anybody from preventing you from saying what you want to say. It only applies to the government. So if you're a private employer, the First Amendment doesn't prevent you from regulating what your employees might say. A lot of people, most people really are what are called at-will employees, which means they can be fired for any reason or no reason at all. There are certain limits on what employers can do that are imposed by statute to an employee, and those, generally fall within anti-discrimination laws. So you can't be fired, for conduct or your status in certain protected classes. But in general, employers have the right to fire an employee for whatever reason they want, as long as you're an at-will employee, and social media speech can be one of those reasons.
So at-will applies to most of the employees in the state of Utah. If you have an employment contract, or if you're a government employee, you have a certain merit position, you're maybe not quite an at-will employee. But what he's saying is, at will means at will. You're at the will of the employer.
That's right.
And they can terminate you for anything. So
or nothing.
Right. Right. And so if you post something, for example, as we're talking about here, where you say, I think something terrible about Charlie Kirk,
right,
or you're hailing his killer, his alleged killer, and your employer can fire you for that.
Right.
And that's not a violation of your First Amendment rights, because you can still say it. You just can't say it and work here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that what you're saying is going to it's going to be taken down, or you can't post it. Post whatever you want, but don't post it if you want to work in my place. And that's what I think at will means as it relates to First Amendment and statements like we're talking about here.
So what do you make of this idea of Attorney General Pam Bondi saying we're going to go after everybody that is posting any kind of hate speech? We're going to go after companies. We're going to go after people. Is that a violation because she is the government?
Yeah, I guess it depends on what go after means. If what she's saying is, if let's say you're, widget company X, and you do government contracts, and they don't like what you're saying, maybe they'll say, well, you're not going to get government contracts anymore.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think there are limits
Actions
on what the
have
government can do.
consequences?
Right.
Yeah.
But I don't know that they can, prosecute you criminally, or maybe even withdraw an ongoing contract unless there's some, bad faith provision in there or something. I'm just saying, when she's talking about we're going to target people involved in hate speech, she's got to be careful. But David Ryman did explain that free speech can have its consequences.
That is the bargain that we made in this country when we founded it, is that we agree to tolerate caustic and hurtful speech because we don't want the government telling us what we can and can't say. And we have to accept, as part of that bargain, the fact that people are sometimes going to say things that we disagree with, and sometimes going to say things that are hurtful.
One thing I'll say about social media, and it's in my lifetime, it's new. It's not something we've always had, because people, and I don't know if I'll articulate this very well, but if you say something, you and I are talking, and I say something that you consider to be hateful, we consider that, whatever. But when you put it on social media, it's like you wrote it down. It's like you wrote a letter, and people don't realize that that's preserved. People think of texting as talking and not writing a letter.
Right.
But your employer or the government looks at it as you wrote a letter. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it's there, it exists, and it stays there for a while.
Yeah.
I would just say, be careful what you post.
Yeah. Oh, well, yeah, that's always wise advice. Look, we're going to switch gears only slightly. A new report says 70% of Utah's maternal deaths could have been prevented. We're going to have a talk when we come back, about the disparities in Utah maternal health. So stay with us.
10:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Amanda Dixon. KSL's top story this hour: Utah Valley University is welcoming students back to campus, and classes restart today, 1 week after the shooting of Charlie Kirk. The school is also putting together a vigil for unity this Friday at their basketball arena. Our top national story this hour from ABC News: people who won forever prizes with the Publishers Clearinghouse Company in the past won't be getting any more checks since the company filed for bankruptcy.
Publishers Clearinghouse reported liabilities of between $50 and $100 million, including the promised prizes. But federal court records show its assets only totaled between $1 and $10 million. Gaming platform ARB Interactive acquired the company out of bankruptcy this summer and established a new platform for sweepstakes opportunities. But ARB says it's not responsible for paying out prizes issued by Publishers Clearinghouse before July 15th.
ABC's Morgan Norwood reporting. The Utah Mammoth officially opened the doors to the team's new training facility in Sandy today. The training center will be the team's permanent headquarters. Team officials will cut the ribbon around 1:30. Your money at this moment: the Dow is up 252 right now. We're at 46,013. Coming up, sunshine and pleasant temperatures today. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 10:32. A reminder about the simplest way to get updated for your day.
Hit your KSL preset when you jump in the car, and we'll take care of the rest.
Hear key news updates and traffic reports.
Andy and Amanda from 5 to 9 in your car.
KSL News Radio at 102.7 FM.
Amanda, I want to tell people how they can look and feel 10 years younger, because it's something you and I already know.
We lost weight with the SOTA weight loss program. I lost 34 pounds, 3 years ago now?
Yeah.
And I do feel younger. I have more energy, all because I worked through this wonderful program, SOTA Weight Loss.
And I let go of 70 pounds of fat weight over 5 months, and I actually did get comments, you look incredibly younger. It really felt good.
And I love the example I set for my kids to show them, look, we can celebrate things without having to eat stuff that's bad for our bodies.
And what helps is the accountability. And right now, this is the best way to do it. SOTA's bringing back their most popular offer of the season. Join now, and your partner joins for free in the Partner Program.
So you and your spouse, or you and your best friend, get going with SOTA Weight Loss.
They're the #1 weight loss company in America for client satisfaction and client results. You can find out by going to their website, SOTAweightloss.com. That's SOTA weightloss.com. Because SOTA is, say it with me, Amanda, state of the art.
A 15-year-old girl who chewed through a rope to escape a serial killer.
I used my front teeth to saw on the rope in my mouth.
The killer prowled the Pacific Northwest in the early 70s. He's been convicted of murdering 2 young women, but suspected of many more.
Maybe there's another one in that area.
Follow Stolen Voices of Dole Valley now, so you don't miss an episode.
An emergency can happen any second. Here's a few seconds to think about where you'd go. When you need medical care fast, the closest emergency room is a smart thing to know. Common Spirit Health ERs are your direct path between feeling scared or uncomfortable and feeling better. Find emergency care in your neighborhood at mountain.commonspirit.org.
Hey, want to hear something great? Right now at Wendy's, you can get 2 of the #1 selling bacon cheeseburger in all fast food, the JBC, plus medium fries and a medium soft drink for just $8. Want to hear something else great? Double the burger means double the bacon. Now that's a game changer. 2 of the #1 bacon cheeseburgers with fries and a drink for just $8. Gotta be Wendy's.
Limited time only. U.S. price and participation may vary. Request $8 JBC meal deal to obtain discount. Individual items at regular price.
I'm Ed Evans, CEO of Consumer Cellular. We're dedicated to serving people 50 and up like me. Our needs are different.
Big Wireless wants us in an unlimited plan, but if you're not using all that data, you're probably getting used. At Consumer Cellular, we're focused on affordable, reliable plans, including data that suits your needs, not ours. Our plans start at just $20, and you'll get the best customer service in the business.
Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com/facts. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. See site for additional facts.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Mountain America. Turn everyday spending into an extraordinary escape. And here's Heather Kelly.
We still have some slowdowns southbound I-15 just after Main Street and Lehigh, well into Linden, but speeds are improving, and it's no longer stop and go most of that way, although right where traffic tries to merge on from Pioneer Crossing onto southbound I-15, things are still a little bit at a crawl right there. Otherwise, you have a pretty good drive on I-15 throughout Utah, the rest of Utah, Salt Lake, and Davis counties. And then also in Utah County, we still have the cleanup of a crash on SR-73. This is westbound right at Mountain View Corridor. Looks like the last of these vehicles is just pulling away now on a tow truck, but the traffic is backed up for several miles actually on Pioneer Crossing, so that's going to take you a little bit of time to get through. Also, 4100 South and West Valley remains shut down. It's been closed for several hours. That is eastbound at 3600 West, all traffic being diverted from 41st onto 3600 West. Struggling with vision loss? Join the Utah State Library and Division of Services for Blind and Visually Impaired's Open House October 2nd, 992. Call 801-715-6789. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
Sunshine and 77 today, 82 tomorrow, slight chance of rain on Saturday. Right now it's 66 degrees. I'm Amanda Dixon from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
As a retired midwife, this headline did not surprise me, but it still makes me sad. Troubling disparities in Utah maternal health outcomes. And we have with us today, we're gonna talk about these disparities, but really what we're seeing is that up to 70% of the maternal deaths that do happen in Utah could have been prevented. And we have with us Lois Collins. She's in studio with us. She's a longtime author, covers health, parenting, aging, public policy, and she's been with the Deseret News and in our show as a regular guest. Thanks for being here, Lois.
Always a pleasure.
So before we get to the numbers, what qualifies as a maternal death?
It's a death that happens during the pregnancy, related to the pregnancy, or for a certain period postpartum. And depending on who's counting, there's a little bit difference in whether they say it's like 8 weeks or some say several months. But it's usually related to the pregnancy. So if you get like high blood pressure related to the pregnancy and then you have a stroke that's related, that would be considered a maternal death, even if it happened several months after.
I think some of the numbers, too, that we've seen, and I don't know if you discussed this, this was part of the panel maybe that you attended or not, but it can go out as long as a year.
Yes.
And it can be related to postpartum depression or other postpartum mood disorders, and then we get suicide that can happen because of the pregnancy. So in that period, there's an acute period, right, where it's an emergency related right around that very time of birth, but it can extend through the first year.
Yeah, and there are different counts.
Yeah,
so
that's
the
right.
feds count it a little bit differently than the states do. The counties may even count it differently. So it's hard to get a real solid number.
So the could have been prevented, I guess, is my next question. I mean, you can say somebody involved in a motor vehicle accident could have been prevented had they worn their seatbelt, or you know what I mean?
Yes,
like there are certain things that you have some finite terms or definitions, but what do you think we're talking about with that?
So you're talking about things like prenatal care, appropriate mental health care, access to the right foods and doctors. Sometimes, we have counties in Utah that have no OBGYN or certified nurse midwife. Wayne County, for instance, doesn't have any of the doctors or healthcare providers that you would expect. So they have to travel long distances. So part of it is access, part of it is affordability. There are a bunch of things that come into that too. But if you can look at the death and say this and this and this would have changed it, and these were all reasonable things that could have been done, then that was preventable.
Including geography, including you live in an area where healthcare isn't readily available, and had it been available, it may have been preventable.
It might have, yeah. And sometimes it's one of the big barriers is people who don't make a lot of money who live in rural areas who have to take time off work. And they may short the time they take off work, or they may put off seeking care for a problem because they think they can tough it out for a little bit, and it turns out to be a bad decision.
Right. So we have healthcare deserts. We have in Utah, right, where you can't get reliable access. And so I'm seeing that you're saying there's 5 counties where you have to travel at least an hour.
Yep.
So exactly what you were just saying, you may not be able to afford to take the time off work, and you've got to pay for gas, and you
may not be given the time off work,
or you may not be given, right? And so not only are you not going in if you feel like there's a problem, but you're not going in for regular prenatal care, which is where a lot of the problems are picked up.
Correct. And we have 13 counties that don't have an OBGYN at all. So some of them are close enough that you could go for a half hour or something, but there's time involved when there's nobody nearby. We have 12 counties that have no certified nurse midwife. We have the 4 counties that have no general family practitioner. I mean, it's hard. In some parts of rural Utah, it's very hard.
So what about mothers who do have access to services but don't take them, or mistake them, or I don't know, just don't appreciate what's available to them?
I don't know. I don't know how you quantify who doesn't appreciate it per se. I mean, there are other issues. The 3 main things that seem to be involved with these maternal deaths are mental health, substance use disorder, and obesity. And so if there's adequate treatment, we all know that mental health, it's hard to get adequate mental health sometimes.
Yeah.
And it's even harder if you're in a rural area. Telehealth has been one of the big blessings for people in rural areas when it comes to mental health. So, but there are other issues too. There's mental health has gotten worse. So is physical health. There's intimate partner violence. There's the question of, what they call social determinants of health, like poverty and inadequate good food, and can't afford housing, and lack of insurance. So there's a bunch that goes into this.
How does Utah fare compared to other states in the nation?
So Utah we look better. We have 6, as bad as it is here, we have 16 versus 23 nationally as far as deaths per 100,000. Serious injury related to all of this, because we talk about deaths, but we don't talk about people who become disabled or who have serious problems. Our numbers are 61 versus 88 nationally.
Wow.
Per 100,000.
So that's more maternal morbidity. So you have mortality, which is death, and you have morbidity, which is long-term consequences that you live with. And those can be life-changing.
So did you say that with respect to maternal deaths related to mental health and some of these other conditions, it's getting worse?
Mental health is getting worse. They said that in the last decade, the number of people with mental health problems went up 18.7 percentage points. That's just between 2013 and 2023, and those are diagnosed.
That's significant.
So that's a big jump statewide. And then you add in problems. Maternal mortality is more common among people with racial and ethnic minorities, people who are low income, and also older mothers. And we are getting older mothers. I was a geriatric mom.
I always hated that term, by the way.
Waiting till you're...
But I waited till I was 37 to have my first kid. And those are issues that raise the complications. If you're over 35, then it's a geriatric pregnancy, and you have to do more testing and more paying attention. And it's because numerically there are just more problems.
So we're almost running out of time already, but my question for you is, what are we looking at in the future? Were you seeing problems on the horizon?
They are talking about their projections for how many doctors we'll have. Right now we have 69% of the OBGYNs we think we need in Utah. They say we're only by 2036 going to have 57%.
Wow.
We're going to have 72% of the GPs we need. So we're looking at more shortages. We are, however, going to have enough and maybe even more than we need certified nurse midwives, but they might not be geographically in your community.
Right.
We may have a plethora somewhere and none somewhere else.
Yeah. Well, that number makes me happy. So, but women need care, right? And we need to continue to have this conversation. It's something that sometimes we talk about and then it just disappears for a while until we see another maternal death, show up in the news or something.
If we care about babies, we got to care about moms.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks for joining us. Lois Collins again. Look, we're going to shift. We're still talking about kids in a way because we're talking about rent. You need to make at least $30 an hour to afford monthly rent in Utah. This number is so high, and it's why I still have adult kids living at home, right? We're going to talk about this latest report on rent prices when we come back.
This summer, your carpets saw it all. Dirt, dust, even pet mess. This autumn, it's time to fall back in love with your home with Zero-Res carpet and air duct cleaning. Zero-Res uses patented ZR water technology to clean the right way with no harsh chemicals or sticky residues. That means carpets stay cleaner longer, dry in just hours, and are safe for kids and pets. Plus, Zero-Res backs it up with their Gotta Love It guarantee. If you're not happy, they'll re-clean it free within 30 days. And right now, get the carpet of any room cleaned for just $43 and take 15% off air duct cleaning services when you mention KSL. Fall back in love with your carpets today. Schedule online at Zero-Res.com. Spelled the same forward or backward. Zero-Res is the right way to clean.
You trust us for news and information in your car. Now trust us at home. KSL News Radio has you covered, keeping you informed on the latest breaking news, weather, traffic, sports, and more. Listen on your Amazon Echo or Google Home device. Just say, Alexa, open KSL News Radio. Or listen on the KSL News Radio Listen app. Text the word app to 57500. KSL News Radio. We have you covered.
If you're ready to buy a home or sell a home and you're worried about the current real estate market because of what you've heard from some of your friends or family, well, we're here to tell you that you really shouldn't be worried because now is a great time to buy and sell with our friends at the Stern Team, powered by Almada Real Estate.
And here's why. Buyers have more options due to increased inventory, which gives them the power to negotiate for repairs, interest rate buy downs, and closing cost assistance. While at the same time, sellers are still getting top dollar for their homes, with home values that are higher today than ever before. So whether you're looking to buy or sell, the current real estate market presents a win-win opportunity for both buyers and sellers.
But you still do want to make sure that you're working with a team of real estate experts you can trust that can get you some great results. And that's our friends at the Stern Team, powered by Almada Real Estate.
They have helped thousands of Salt Lake City homeowners, and they're ready to help you. To get started, just go to thesternteam.com. That's thesternteam.com or Google The Stern Team.
Emergency traffic brought to you by Mountain America. We're just getting word that I-84 westbound is closed. If just before you get to the Morgan exit, this is due to a bad crash. Traffic is quickly backing up to Taggart's Grill. You're going to need to find an alternate route if you're coming over from Echo Junction trying to get into the Ogden area. Wasatch Front businesses and property managers, GoPave Utah provides all asphalt repairs for your parking. For patching and paving along the Wasatch Front, contact GoPave Utah. GoPaveUtah.com. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to the end of summer sale at AutoZone. We're celebrating the end of long days and short nights with big deals for a short time, like car wash. Right now, you can save 20% on the Armor All Complete Car Wash Kit. Need new brakes? Duralast brake pads are free with the purchase of Duralast rotors. We've also got oil deals and more. We're ending the summer right with the end of summer sale at AutoZone.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
If you love to travel, Capital One has a rewards credit card that's perfect for you. With the Capital One Venture X card, you earn unlimited double miles on everything you buy. Plus, you get premium benefits at a collection of luxury hotels when you book on Capital One Travel. And with Venture X, you get access to over 1,000 airport lounges worldwide. Open up a world of travel possibilities with the Capital One Venture X card. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. Lounge access is subject to change. See CapitalOne.com for details.
Any Hour Services free furnace sale is going on right now. If you haven't scheduled your free estimate yet, what are you waiting for? Call Any Hour Services today or schedule online at anyhourservices.com.
I'm Andrew Saul, Commissioner of Social Security. I'm here to warn you about telephone scammers pretending to be government employees. Some of these scammers may say threatening things like you will be arrested if you don't make payments or provide personal information. Do not fall for these tricks. These calls are not from us. Real Social Security employees will never threaten you for information or money. If you receive a call like this, hang up. Never give the caller your personal information, like your Social Security number or bank account, or send money in any form, cash, gift cards, wire transfers, or prepaid debit cards. Report the call to our law enforcement arm, the Office of the Inspector General, at oig.ssa.gov. Share this information with your friends and family.
Matthew.
Huh? Oh, sorry.
It's okay. I just need you to listen to me.
I know that a lot of times, Mom, it might not seem like I'm listening to you, but I am. I hear you. And what you say really does matter to me.
I mean, let's be honest. No kid likes rules, but I get why we have them. I hear you, and I know it's because you care.
All the talks we've had over the years, including what you've told me about not using alcohol and other drugs, they stick with me. And believe it or not, they really do make a difference, especially at times that matter most.
Hey, want a drink?
No thanks, I'm good. So thank you, Dad, for talking and preparing me for what's ahead.
Thanks, Mom, for never giving up and always being my biggest fan.
Thank you for letting me know what you expect, so I can try to meet your expectations.
Thank you for talking.
For more information about talking with your kids about underage use of alcohol and other drugs, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
Do you worry about how much someone drinks?
Do you feel angry or depressed most of the time? Do you feel neglected or unloved?
Do you feel you attract people who tend to be compulsive or abusive?
Do you have money problems because of someone else's drinking?
Are you afraid or embarrassed to bring your friends home?
Do you feel that if the drinker loved you, she or he would stop drinking?
If you answered yes to any of these questions, you are not alone.
More than half of all adults have a family history of alcoholism.
Not everyone trapped by alcohol is an alcoholic.
Families and friends are suffering too. Al-Anon and Alateen can help. Call 1-866-200-0223 or visit alanon.org/help.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources.
Tell me we have some good news, Holly.
We do. So
Okay,
we've had a
okay.
few texters, and please, if you have good news stories, please send them in. So we do have listeners with a sense of humor also. But here's one. I just bought a house. Congratulations. Way to go. That is a good news story. One texter says, my good news story is that they caught the shooter of Charlie Kirk. So that's good. And one says, while at work today, I happened to be driving past my daughter's elementary school right as her day was starting, and I was able to stop by and see her off for the day. And then we had one more who said, if you want a good news story, go watch Mr. Rogers' Imaginary Neighborhood.
There we go. There we go. Well, so good news from one of our listeners who was able to buy a house.
That's awesome.
And we've talked about that in Utah, that housing prices have gone up, that even we're learning now that even the cost of renting a house has gone up. And the study shows that you need to make $31.27 an hour to be able to afford the average rent payment for a two-bedroom apartment, which is right now $1,626 a month. KSL News Radio's Alexandria Bonilla reports.
It's not the most expensive, but it's not the cheapest either. To spend the recommended 30% of income on rent, Utahns need to make $31.27 an hour. That will pay the average $1,600 rent payment for a two-bedroom apartment. That's according to a study by Bluefield Realty Group. In comparison, the most expensive state to live in is Massachusetts, where renters need to make $56.15 an hour to afford the two-bedroom. Alexandria Bonilla, KSL News Radio.
Well, first of all,
$56, pretty scary.
I was surprised. I guess New York as a state is different than New York as a city, right? It's like I didn't think it would be Massachusetts. But yeah, I mean, we're not the cheapest, but even making $30 an hour is a lot. And if you're doing that and you're paying 30% of your income on rent, it makes it really hard, I think, to save enough money to get it into a house that you buy.
That's hard to imagine, to be able to rent an apartment that you need to make that much money. It seems like that number shocked me. And I know that housing prices are up, and I know rent prices are up, and I know, $1,626 a month is the average 2-bedroom apartment in Utah. Seems like a lot of money, but you factor in that has to equate to some percentage of your income, like you said, 30% or a third or something.
Somewhere around there, yeah.
Yeah, you need to make $31 an hour to afford a 2-bedroom apartment.
Right. So
that doesn't even allow you to buy a house like one of our happy
exactly
listeners got.
Right. So happy listener, thank you for sharing that story. Again, California wasn't far behind. So I'm looking at an article in the Deseret News that California the top 5 states where you have to make a lot of money. Massachusetts was number 1. California was number 2, where you have to make $50, over $50. Number 3 was Washington, D.C., the nation's capital, New Jersey, and then New York. So again, we're looking at, you shouldn't exceed 30% of gross income, but that's where you start to get into some discussions too about, well, if you're going to share with a roommate, right? So maybe you do. So maybe you're able to cut that 2-bedroom cost in half. So that's helpful. Do you have to take another job, right? We just heard from Lois that her daughter's working 3 jobs right now. Right. Hope that's not too much information. And some people are, this is disturbing and sad, but some people are saying that they have to give up their pets because it's an extra fee if you rent and have a pet, and so they're choosing to give up their pets.
The best states, the cheapest states, the bottom of the list is Oklahoma. Renters have to make $20.50. So $20.50 an hour in Oklahoma.
Still.
$56 in Massachusetts. That's almost a 3-fold. But even $20 is a significant amount. In
Oklahoma it is.
The bottom of the price range there, Oklahoma, South Dakota, North Dakota, West Virginia, and Arkansas with at least 5 expensive states. And Utah at $31.27 puts us right about the middle. We're 26.
Oh, yeah. So that's right about the middle. So I do want you to play a piece of sound for me on the pets.
Uh-oh.
No, it's okay. We have, anyway, people deciding to give pets up.
The Humane Society of Utah says there's been a 4.45% increase in the number of surrendered pets so far this year over the same period last year, or more than 260 animals. Spokesperson Gwen Schuster says the situation is heartbreaking for owners who must decide between keeping their pets or paying the rent.
They say they can't find affordable housing, or they can't find housing that will allow the large breed dog that they have.
The situation becomes more dire if the pet needs medical care. Schuster pleads with the public to avoid judging people who are making the gut-wrenching decision to surrender their pets. The Humane Society offers emergency food and supplies in order to keep the pets with their families. Tammy Kikuchi, KSL News Radio.
Sorry, I missed that. My wife would surrender her roommate, me, to save a little money before she would surrender her pets.
That is so funny. Look, we have a texter who even sent us a picture for great news. Not related to houses, but it's great news.
Uh-oh.
I have great news. I just became a first-time granddad this morning, and then sends us a picture of his brand new little granddaughter. Congratulations, Grandpa. It's so fun.
That one of the greatest joys of my life is being a grandparent, and I'm a grandparent 8 times over right now. So I appreciate what he's enjoying.
And we have
right now.
10 with an 11th on the way. And look, I mean, I heard all the things before I became a grandparent. You know, being a grandparent is like payback for letting your kids survive teenagerhood, whatever, all those things. It is so fun to be a grandma. It's so fun.
You know what the funnest thing I hear from my grandkids is they say, Grandpa, let's wrestle. And I don't know what it is about wrestling with your kids. And I don't even know what it is. You probably know the psychology behind it. The kids, they just want to get in there and like, Grandpa, let's wrestle. And they punch you and they try to hurt you. And it's not like just a fun thing for them, but
there's physical touch connection.
I want to wrestle. And I unfortunately have 8 grandkids. None of them are in Utah. So if I go see my grandkids, it's a destination.
Yeah.
But I miss that. And as soon as I get on the plane coming home, I'm like, I wish I was wrestling.
So we're pivoting off rent, but we're lucky enough to have several grandkids who live close by in Utah, and we are real book lovers. And so my daughters, both of whom have babies, one is only 4 months old, 5 months old, and the other one is 2. But there's lots of pictures of them sitting on grandma's lap, and we're reading books because we love to read. And then there's all these little action books, and they're so fun for kids. Yeah. But they're starting early, and I just love it so much.
And even in my own life, I think of one of my most favorite people as my grandmother. You know what I mean?
That's right.
One of the people I miss the most.
That's right.
It has been now pivoting a week since the death of Charlie Kirk on the UVU's campus, and students are making their way back to the classroom today. Let's touch base with what we know about the case and how students may be settling back in straight ahead. Stay with us on KSL News Radio. You can stream us on the KSL News Radio app, sponsored by At Your Service Pros.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio,
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
11 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Claire Scott, KSL's top story this hour. And we have emergency traffic on the road, so we're going to go straight to Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center. Heather?
The worst one affecting the most traffic, northbound I-15, a multi-vehicle crash blocking 3 left lanes of the freeway right at the I-215 South Interchange in Midvale. That has traffic at a halt, and it's backed up into Sandy. But if you are up in Morgan County, you also have a closure westbound I-84. All traffic is forced to exit at the Morgan exit. That's milepost 106. Traffic backed up more than a mile there. You're going to have to find alternate routes if you're coming over from Echo Junction, heading westbound, trying to get into Ogden. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
Thank you, Heather. We are going to check in with her in just a moment. In the meantime, there was a brief scare this morning outside Turning Point USA's headquarters in Phoenix. A police bomb squad was called in to check out a suspicious bag left at a memorial built for Charlie Kirk. After a closer look, nothing suspicious was found, and police say there is not a threat to the area. Your money at this moment, the Dow is up 203 points. The S&P is down 15 points. And coming up low to mid-80s, KSL weather's next. KSL News Time, 11:01.
The sources where we get our news matters.
When you listen to Utah's Morning News, we want you to feel the stories are important to you and trustworthy. This is Amanda Dixon.
And I'm Andy Farnsworth. Join us weekday mornings on KSL News Radio.
Tim Jr. here from RGS Exteriors. I want to tell you about our famous "You Don't Need a Warranty" warranty. That's right. It's a warranty you don't need, but we give it to you anyway. Let me explain. Most warranty problems for siding, gutters, and windows are caused by not installing stuff right in the first place. If you rush the work, cut corners, or use subpar materials, you're just begging for problems later. At RGS Exteriors, we don't tolerate careless workmanship. We slow down, focus on every detail, and use only the best materials. We prevent warranty work by doing the job right in the first place. That's why the 10-year everything guarantee we give you is also known as our "You Don't Need a Warranty" warranty. We absolutely will be there if you need to use it. But honestly, you probably will never have to. Done right the first time. That's the RGS way. For siding, gutters, and windows, call 801-280-3110 or visit us at rgsexteriors.com.
The Management Minute is a service of the MBA program in the John M. Huntsman School of Business at Utah State University. I'm Professor Scott Hammond. Nothing since the invention of the internet will change how we do business more than the AI revolution. Both good and bad, but certainly significant. Before the internet, communicating was personal, voice, writing, then email and text added a layer of mediation. Now AI programs will write communication for you. Then they will read and summarize communication for you, putting yet another layer of mediation between you and your colleagues. Careful. The nuances of voice and facial expression often communicate very important emotions that are not captured by just text. In the coming weeks, I will discuss how AI will impact the workplace. If you want to know more about how to better communicate in the workplace, consider an MBA at Utah State University. Go to utahstatemba.com. That's utahstatemba.com. I'm Scott Hammond. Hope to see you in one of our classes.
Get in the zone, AutoZone. Summer's almost over, but the heat is pressing on. If you've got battery trouble, stop by AutoZone for free battery testing. It may just need a charge, and we'll do that for free too. If you do need a battery, we've got options starting at just $89.99. And we'll recycle your old battery for free. Now that's a strong start. Don't miss the end of summer sale. Now at AutoZone until September 22nd.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm, and Chuck McDowell definitely not an attorney. This is Chuck. If someone talked you into buying something really silly and you want to get out of that silly little thing, my advice, get the facts. Call me and I'll send you our timeshare exit kit absolutely free. Inside, you'll learn how timeshare works and all your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley now for your free exit info kit. 800-486-9600. That's 800-486-9600.
Emergency traffic and weather together, brought to you by Mountain America. Turn everyday spending into an extraordinary escape. Here's Heather Kelly.
We've got a rollover crash in Weber Canyon. This is westbound I-84. The rollover itself is just before you get to the exit for Morgan. However, UHP is forcing all traffic off at exit 106. That is Reese Lane. And so you're going to have to go a long way around before you can even get past this crash out of Morgan to get back on westbound I-84 toward Ogden. You might be better off going all the way through Park City. It's a long way around, but that might be quicker at this point. We also have huge delays northbound I-15 in the Salt Lake Valley between 90th South and Sandy, all the way to the South Interchange, where a multi-vehicle crash is blocking 3 left lanes of the freeway. Only 2 right lanes are available. Again, you may want to exit in Sandy and not get back on the freeway till 53rd South in the Murray area. And then we have another crash southbound I-15 in American Fork. The traffic there never recovered from 2 earlier crashes, and so it's still stop and go coming out of Lehigh through much of American Fork. The Good Feet store, supporting you with comfort no matter what the day brings. Find the location nearest you at goodfeet.com. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
Today we'll see a high of 77 with clear sunny skies. After that, we're back in the low to mid 80s through the weekend with some cloud coverage moving in on Friday. Right now it is 68 and sunny. I'm Claire Scott from the KSL Common Spirit House Studios. Listen online at KSLNewsRadio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
Good news at Utah Valley University this morning, and that is that students are back in school. Maybe if you're a student, it's not such good news, but it's good news for the university. We heard that on Monday, faculty and staff went back. Of course, they had the horrible tragedy that occurred there last Wednesday. A week later, students are back, and we have KSL News Radio's Adam Small on campus this morning. Adam, thank you for joining us this morning.
Yeah, good morning, guys.
And you had some sort of walkthrough or something at 9 o'clock. Tell us about what you've been doing.
Yeah, so 2 high-ranking members of the university, including University President Astrid Tumines, they met with us members of the media, and they did a quick, about 30-minute walkthrough. They took us through some of the central parts of campus and just showed us some of the resources they're offering students and just tried to be very transparent about what they are doing to help students. Because to put this in perspective, I mean, the atmosphere here on campus, depending on what area you go to, but I mean, it's not very different altogether. I mean, like, there are some areas it feels like a cemetery. Like in the central part of campus, they actually have the area where Charlie Kirk was sitting when he was shot is actually still has barriers around it. They don't want people going into that, but the courtyard itself is open to walk through. So there's a whole bunch of students in that courtyard just standing on the barriers, just looking down, and everyone is just crying, processing what happened. It is a very, very somber feeling here. And so this walkthrough, the university president and other officials just talked with us about, we obviously, they're offering that in-person mental health counseling every day, which is something we've been reporting on this week already. But they've also been talking about, here's some of our different organizations in the school, our cultural center, and how that's helping. They also have these booths set up around all over the center part of campus inside where kids can literally just walk up, grab a free snack, and like, hey, do you know about the resources we have available? Making sure every student has that information. But it is is like a weight on your shoulders walking around this campus today. It is, it's very emotional for everybody.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that. Did you have an opportunity to talk to any students yet today?
So a lot of the students, and understandably so, have been respectfully declining to talk to the media. I mean, I'm here with a few other outlets in the same general area, and a lot of students just kind of just want to pay their respects. And obviously in the central courtyard, we were asked, and obviously just for, moral reasons at the end of the day, we did not want to ask anyone in there to talk either. It's really just a place of grieving. But it's really just you can kind of tell the emotion. Like it's one of those moments where like no words are necessary. Like, you're looking on, you're seeing people, tears streaming down their face, looking at a spot where one of the most tragic things you could ever imagine happened. It's just one of those things where it's without words, but it's very easy to see what people are feeling.
Have you been, Adam, to that central quad area where the homicide took place?
Yeah, I was there about hour or so ago after we got done with the walkthrough. I went through and took a few pictures. There's another memorial. We've been talking about the memorial by the campus roundabout. There's actually a few different memorials on campus. One of them is actually in the courtyard. That was one area where people were just looking on, again, just very emotional, a lot of tears. And then another area people were looking was down into the courtyard on the grassy area where Charlie Kirk was actually speaking. There's no decorations or anything. Again, it's been blocked off pretty much ever since what happened. But people are just looking, and I think just processing the reality that that spot is where someone was shot and then eventually lost their life. I think that's on its own. It's a lot to process. It's easy to tell that.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Adam. I have just a question about the professors or faculty that you might have been even observing or talking to. Do you have a sense, are they processing kind of the same way as the students? Do you feel like it's different? Do they have an added burden because they have to deal with their own, and then they also are working with students as well?
I think that's a good way of putting it. Yeah, I talked to a couple of professors here on campus this week, and you could tell they were going through it, but I think they're also trying to also be strong for the kids, because I remember it wasn't just like I had a little bit of a hard time getting them to open up about, what emotions they had, because the first thing on their minds was the kids. These are very young men and women that are coming back to a place where I'm sure their sense of security is shattered in some way. And one of those reasons that we actually have extra law enforcement here on hand today from several different local agencies to help people feel safe, to let them know, like, hey, you are safe, you can learn here. And I think for the professors, they're trying to process, but also trying to be strong and help their students, because they know at the end of the day, they come here to learn, they pay to be here, and to go through something like what happened 1 week ago today is just, it's unimaginable. And so I think, yes, there is some processing. Obviously, there is some emotion, but they're definitely trying to also lend that helping hand where they can, as the people trying to help guide these students through this part of their life.
We're joined this morning by KSL News Radio's Adam Small. And Adam, we have heard from groups within the campus and at the FBI that there are resources available for students up there, even a center, I think. Is there something posted, or is there information you think that students could go to, or that they're walking by or they're seeing, that would let them know that there are resources available if they need to talk to somebody or just vent a little bit?
Yes, of course. So those tables or booths I mentioned was a big one. The campus has been communicating so far. Obviously, I don't have a campus email. I'm sure kids are getting emails as well. But I know that the campus has been posting updates on their emergency information website. That's where I've been getting a lot of my information from my reports this week about, the in-person counseling and other resources like that. But these tables and booths that they set up today to kind of just, they have either student body leaders or other campus employees behind them, like, hey, do you want a free snack? And hey, just want to make sure and they have these little cards with a QR code that you can scan, so kids will know, like, hey, here's all the resources we have. Here's and also just having that person there at the booth, like, hey, are you okay? Like, do you need anything? I think the school, at least from my perspective, has been very proactive about making sure kids know what direction they need to go if they need any kind of help.
Thank you so much for joining us. We've been speaking with KSL News Radio's Adam Small, and I'm an adjunct professor at UVU in the communications department. I'm not teaching a class this semester, but I've been getting a lot of email and communication from the university, and it really, I think they really are focused not only on the students, but really on the teachers and faculty as well, the faculty and staff, being able to make sure that they feel like they have the support they need as they go in to talk to these classes. And I think one of the things that stood out to me a lot as an adjunct is that the first thing they said is, when you go back to class and your students come back to class on Wednesday, don't pretend nothing happened.
Right.
Have a conversation.
And I was thinking about that, and I was going to ask you, but we're running out of time. If you were teaching up there, your first 5 minutes of your first class, you're probably going to say
at least 5 minutes.
Yeah, can we talk about this? Does anyone want to share anything? I mean, you had to have expected that. Yeah. That dialogue probably occurred dozens of times this morning. And when we come back, this is an unusual series of events that we've learned about. Terrorism and first-degree murder charges were dropped against Luigi Mangione, accused of killing the United Healthcare CEO. We will talk about why that happened straight ahead. Remember, we're streaming live at kslnewsradio.com and on the app for KSL News Radio, sponsored by At Your Service Pros.
Emergency traffic brought to you by Mountain America. We still have the closure of westbound I-84 in Morgan County. The rollover itself is near the Morgan exit, but all traffic is being forced to exit at milepost 106. That's Reese Lane, and traffic is backed up toward Taggart's Grill. We also have big delays northbound I-15 from Sandy into Midvale due to an earlier multi-vehicle crash that had 3 left lanes of the freeway shut down. They've just opened a couple of the lanes, but it looks like the HOV lane and left shoulder is still blocked. Wasatch Front businesses and property managers, GoPave Utah provides all asphalt repairs for your parking. For patching and paving along the Wasatch Front, contact GoPave Utah. GoPaveUtah.com. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
The IRS finally caught up with Louie.
I hadn't paid my taxes in 8 years. I owed the IRS a lot of money.
Louie was in deep trouble.
We're going to take your house, put a lien on your bank account, garnish your pay. They don't care. They're going to take your paycheck.
Louie found out about Optima Tax Relief, the leading tax resolution firm. A-plus rated by the Better Business Bureau, they've resolved over $1 billion for their clients.
Optima Tax, they helped me. They calmed me down. They made me feel comfortable, and I trust them.
Louie has a lot to be thankful for.
I don't owe the IRS anymore, and I'm able to live a comfortable life, a lot better life. It was because of Optima Tax.
For tax help you can trust, call Optima now for a free consultation. Take it from Louie.
If you owe the IRS, don't go it alone. Give Optima Tax a call. They can help you.
Call 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460. Optima Tax Relief.
Testimonial from an actual client. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
You need another bathroom. You want a back patio retreat. We have a plan. If you're looking to start a home improvement project, a discounted home equity line of credit from Zions Bank is an easy, affordable way to turn your home's equity into opportunity. Stop by your local branch to get started or visit zionsbank.com/HELOC to learn more. Loan subject to credit approval. Terms and conditions apply. See banker for details. A division of Zions Bank Corporation, N.A., member FDIC, equal housing lender. NMLS number 467014.
Get ready to join the climb, Jazz fans. It's time to place your season ticket deposits for the 2025-26 season. Place your deposit now and receive priority access to select your seats, exclusive gear, and more. Season tickets give you access to every home game, plus exclusive member-only discounts and benefits. Call or text 801-355-DUNK or go to UtahJazz.com to lock in your deposit for next season.
Dave's, Bernina, and Provo in St. George wants your used sewing machine. Hi, this is Cindy Olson, and for a limited time, you can save up to 25% on a new Bernina with your trade-in. Any brand at any age or condition. Featuring 48 months, no interest on certain models. Save hundreds to thousands of dollars on all new Bernina machines. And check out the new Bernina 7 Series Pro lineup and the 3 Series, some price too low to mention. Even the most advanced sewing machine in the world, the Bernina 990, is on sale. Buy 2 Bernina accessories and get 1 free when you purchase Bernina presser feet, embroidery hoops, or Bernina big books. Hurry in for amazing bargains on trade-ins and just out-of-the-box special event demo machines that come with warranties. Only at Dave's Bernina, 691 East St. George Boulevard and 2017 North 550 West in Provo, where all new machines come with free classes and a 5-year warranty. Dave's Bernina. Dave'sBernina.com.
Comcast Business High Five Hotline. What's the state of your excitement?
I signed my business up for the 5-year price lock guarantee, and I can't stop high-fiving people. High five!
Okay, deep breath.
High five.
You're in a good place. You signed your business up for 5 years of gig speed internet and advanced security, all on our ultra-reliable network.
Gig speeds and advanced security? I'm so stoked.
Yep, and you get it at a great rate that's locked in for 5 years.
Woo!
The high five is just your body's way of saying, I'm winning.
So this is natural.
High-fiving everyone you see in a state of business savings enthusiasm? Totally natural.
Sweet! Thank you! Thank you! High five, everybody! High five!
The Comcast Business 5-year price lock guarantee is back, but only for a limited time, so sign your business up today.
High five!
Comcast Business, powering possibilities.
Ends 9/21/25 for new customers with qualifying bundle. Current customers may be eligible depending on services and area. Guaranteed rate applies to monthly service charge, excluding taxes and fees. Other restrictions apply.
The new Inside Sources.
We're learning that yesterday a judge in New York dismissed terrorism and first-degree felony murder charges against Luigi Mangione after the judge decided they lacked sufficient evidence. Prosecutors accused Mangione of fatally shooting, if you recall, United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson last year in Manhattan as an act of terror. ABC News chief investigative correspondent Aaron Katursky explains the judge's ruling.
Prosecutors felt they had evidence, they said, that showed Mangione wanted to send a wider message and coerce the public. They pointed to writings that police said they found on Mangione when he was arrested in Pennsylvania. But the defense said Mangione himself never actually publicized any of his writings. That was done by the authorities. And the judge said there was just insufficient evidence to conclude that he meant the killing as a wider message to the public.
That's interesting to me, and I wonder how that applies to the current case we've been discussing.
Yeah, right. Yes, very much so. And because I'll tell you, with the current case we're discussing, if the federal government wanted to come in and prosecute the crime that occurred at UVU last week, they wouldn't just charge a murder because Utah's already got that. Federal law would allow for them to charge it as an act of terrorism, which is exactly what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
Because Luigi Mangione was charged with 3 counts. Now, the third count sticks, but the first 2 counts, which include that are both terrorism-related counts, murder in the course of an act of terrorism, and another one that as a crime of terrorism. So, in furtherance of an act of terrorism and murder as a crime of terrorism. In other words,
that sounds similar to me, but
and then just murder.
Yeah.
So he's charged with 3 counts. But the word terrorism is what got the state in trouble. So make no mistake, Luigi Mangione is still charged with murder. He's still facing a very significant penalty. But there often when we have crimes, we have a hook. Like for example, if you assault somebody, it's a crime. But if you assault somebody you live with, we call it a crime involving domestic violence.
Right.
If you assault an individual that you see near your car, that's a crime. But if you assault them because they're African American, that's a crime related to their race.
Right.
So in this case, the government tried to enhance the penalty. They tried to make the murder more serious, saying it was an act of terrorism. And the defense said, it's not an act of terrorism. He killed a CEO of a company because he didn't like what they were doing. He wasn't trying to send the greater message that that he's a terrorist. And I know the decision is 12 pages long, and I've been trying to read it here. But I think the same would apply to Tyler Robinson here in Utah. And you make a good question: is that an act of domestic terrorism? If you recall, Timothy McVeigh blows up the Oklahoma City government
federal
center,
building.
right?
Yeah.
And that was an act of terrorism. He used a bomb because he blew up a government institution. In neither of these cases is it the CEO of a healthcare, United Healthcare, Charlie Kirk, who's a conservative activist. They're not not an act against the government. I mean, you could say it kind of
is. Is that what terrorism is, though? The definition is an act against government. I don't know. I'm asking you as the legal expert.
Not exactly, but it's an act intended to
strike terror into somebody's heart.
Right. Yes, with the intent to cause. They have a definition of it here. The definition in New York is to intimidate or coerce a civilian population, influence a policy of a unit of government by intimidation or coercion, or affect the conduct of a unit of government by murder, assassination, or kidnapping. In other words, intimidate the civilian population. Were either of these acts intended to intimidate the civilian, like a message to the civilian population?
Well, I'm not an attorney, but I could argue maybe yes.
Yeah, you could. And they argued that in New York and lost. But you're right.
Yeah.
Influence the policy of a unit of government. Influence the policy of a unit of government. We're considering passing a law that legalizes abortion.
Right.
Okay, then you commit some act that to influence the
policy.
Or affects the conduct of a unit of government.
Yeah.
In other words, Congress is about to get back in session, and that you commit some act, or January 6th.
Yeah.
Sorry.
We do have a texter that says whether it's terrorism or not, it was cold-blooded murder and should be first degree. It was planned, premeditated, so why? So you said he's still charged with murder, right?
Right.
Is he charged with some kind of a lesser count of murder?
Yes.
Okay, so what's he charged with?
So he's charged with second-degree murder, which is just...
Why?
Well,
I do agree. Why?
Because cold-blooded doesn't come into it.
Okay.
So Utah is very much the same. And by the way, we used to have first-degree murder and second-degree murder. We now call it aggravated murder and murder.
Yeah.
The reason is because first-degree murder was an aggravated offense and second-degree murder was a first-degree felony, and it confused everyone.
Right.
So New York still does
Exactly.
it the old way.
Okay.
They still call it second-degree murder. So murder is murder, and it carries life in prison.
Okay.
And in Utah, it carries 25
New
years
York
to
doesn't
life.
have the death penalty, do they?
Correct.
Okay.
But they can say if it's a aggravated murder, like what Robinson is charged with.
Right.
Aggravated murder occurs in Utah. So the county attorney there had to look at the book and say,
Right.
okay, how can I make this murder into an aggravated murder? And really mean or thinking about it first, or your evil person is not in the book.
Right.
And people always think premeditation. That word doesn't exist anymore under the law. Everybody think, well, even my son, he was like, Dad, it was a premeditated murder. Like, so what? So a murder is murder, and it's serious, and you go to prison for the rest of your life. But if you want to make it aggravated murder, or you want to make it a terrorism act, you have to prove that predicate crime. Like the aggravation in the Robinson case that the state has alleged is what they're saying is that, and you have to look in the book, you have to look at any of the 26 aggravating factors. His is that his act created a grave risk of death or a great risk of death to someone other than the person killed. Did that gunshot create a great risk of death to anyone other than Charlie Kirk?
Right, and we've talked about that, and the answer
Right.
seems to be yes. There were 3,000 people there, including children.
It went over the heads of thousands of people, and
Right.
there were apparently, from what we're learning today, people literally standing right
Yeah.
in front of him.
Right.
So I think that's a good hook, and I think that's a good basis for Jeff Gray to file that case as a death penalty case. New York, they're saying, well, he murdered this CEO, and it was a terrorist act. He did it. He's a terrorist.
Right.
And the judge said, well, under our definition of terrorism, he's not affecting the operation of the government. He's not affecting the civilian population. It's not like he's like, oh, everybody's afraid to walk around the streets now because Luigi Mangione is killing the United Healthcare CEO.
Yeah.
You know, it was a message crime. It was directed to
I think there was some celebration when that happened too, actually, if I remember correctly.
Unfortunately, yeah. And unfortunately, we're hearing it in different respects in what happened here in Utah, which is just pathetic. But anyway, murder is murder, and it should be, and it is punished, and he will be punished, and he's still going to trial, but he's not facing the other two counts related to the terrorist act.
So let me ask you this. Is terrorism a federal charge, and would that come into play in Utah? So I have another texter. Isn't UVU a government entity? Should it be? It should be considered terrorism, they think.
And it very well, that's a great question. It very well may be.
And is that federal only, though, or is it state?
Yeah, Utah does not have a terrorism as a hook, and it's murder. An act of terrorism is not an aggravating circumstance.
Oh, okay.
I don't know that this would qualify, but that's a great question. Was this an act of domestic terrorism? I think the local case is a better act of terrorism than the Mangione case. If I were a judge or a prosecutor looking at those two cases and saying, hey, which one has the better That's a brilliant question that your listener says, that talks about that, because what is terrorism and what do we do about that? Well, what we do is we say it makes the crime bad, but it's worse because you did it with this awful, bigger picture that you're trying to get accomplished.
Yeah, that is interesting, and I wonder if there might be legislation that comes forward that either adds that to the local, or if it's always a federal nexus on that one.
Right. Even people ask, well, this is an assassination. Well, under Utah law, it wasn't, because assassination is limited under Utah law to elected officials or those who are running for political office.
Which is interesting, right? Because I told you, like, the commonly understood definition is it can be celebrity or otherwise can be considered assassination. That word has been used a lot, but I wonder if that definition might be expanded.
I bet the Utah legislature changes the law.
I bet it might be talking about that. And speaking of that, actually, it leads right into what we're going to talk about, the power of words. So I just wrote a piece about how the power of words can soothe and heal, but they can also dehumanize and even destroy. So we'll talk about that when we come back. If you stay with us on KSL News Radio, you can stream us on the KSL News Radio app, sponsored by At Your Service Pros.
It's 11:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Burl Johansson. KSL's top local story this hour. We're still in emergency traffic, brought to you by Mountain America. Turn everyday spending into an extraordinary escape. Here's Ricky Meese.
And Burl, we've had 3 hot spots all on the Valley freeways. We do have the closure in place westbound to I-84 in Morgan County. This is due to a rolled semi as you're approaching the exit to Morgan. You may not be able to get that far in. Right now, consider coming from westbound I-80 and turning towards Summit County Park City at Echo, and that's on the way to Colville, Hoytsville, and then make your way down to Wanship that way, coming to the Valley. Right now, it may seem like a long way around, but this closure is going to be in place for a while. Our other spot where traffic has been snarled, it's northbound I-15. A bright spot on this one, the crash that brought traffic to a crawl at the South Interchange just before 53rd South had multiple left lanes blocked. That has been cleared. All lanes are now open. However, we have residual delays through Sandy, and then in Utah County, only one left lane open to traffic northbound I-15 in Linden due to a multiple vehicle crash with possible injuries, and delays are stacking into Orem. Burl?
We'll check back in with Ricky as we continue to keep an eye on traffic in the area. Other local news, some people in Provo aren't happy with the way UDOT and UTA let them know their condos and apartments will need to be torn down to make room for more front-runner tracks.
I'm so curious why. We need to hear about this from you, and we heard about it from citizens first.
That is a great question.
That's just really irked us.
No, it would irk me too. That was just, honestly, it was an oversight in the way that we delivered this.
UDOT's Brian Allen presented the plans to the Provo City Council which includes using land near 600 South and 500 West for the tracks. He says double tracks will allow them to run trains every 15 minutes during commute times instead of every 30 minutes. Your money at this moment, the Dow is up 233 points, the S&P is down 11, and the NASDAQ down 111 points. Coming up, we'll get another look at emergency traffic. KSL Traffic and Weather is next. KSL News Time, 11:32.
Mornings are for recharging.
And they're for starting your day right.
We volunteer to join you in the car. Get news and weather at 102.7 FM during the most important part of your day.
Andy and Amanda, each morning between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
Did you know 96% of Americans lose an average of $111,000 in Social Security income? And it's because they claim their benefits at the wrong time. Don't lose $111,000 in Social Security income that's rightfully yours. Learn how you could wring every nickel out of your benefits on Retirement Solutions Radio this Saturday afternoon at 3 o'clock, right here on KSL News Radio 102.7.
Man, I want to tell people how they can look and feel 10 years younger because it's something you and I already know.
We lost weight with the SOTA weight loss program. I lost 34 pounds, 3 years ago now?
Yeah.
And I do feel younger. I have more energy, all because I worked through this wonderful program, SOTA weight loss.
And I let go of 70 pounds of fat weight over 5 months, and I actually did get comments, you look incredibly younger. It really felt good.
And I love the example I set for my kids to show them, look, we can celebrate things without having to eat stuff that's bad for our bodies.
And what helps is the accountability. And
Yeah.
right now, this is the best way to do it. Soda's bringing back their most popular offer of the season. Join now, and your partner joins for free in the Partner Program.
So you and your spouse, or you and your best friend, get going with Soda Weight Loss.
They're the #1 weight loss company in America for client satisfaction and client results. You can find out by going to their website, sodaweightloss.com. That's SOTA weightloss.com. Because soda is, say it with me, Amanda, state of the art.
For nearly 70 years, Les Olson IT has been the trusted name for businesses. From state-of-the-art printers and copiers to managed IT services, we have the solutions you need to stay ahead in today's world. And now Les Olson IT is trusted and licensed in Utah for security systems, for technology that helps you work smarter. Les Olson IT, providing solutions that empower your business. Les Olson IT.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Mountain America. Turn everyday spending into an extraordinary escape. We're still in emergency traffic. Here's Ricky Meese.
Westbound I-84 is closed due to a rollover accident just before the Morgan exit. Right now, you will be forced to take I-80, and that closure is in place at Echo Junction in Utah County. Traffic just coming to a stop. It's a parking lot northbound I-15 in Utah County due to a crash with injuries involving multiple vehicles in Linden. Only one left lane open at this time. You want to consider avoiding northbound I-15 exit in Orem. Hop over to Highway 89 and travel northbound. A little bit of good news for drivers stuck on northbound I-15 in Salt Lake County going from Sandy to Midvale. The crash has been cleared. The delays are starting to improve. It's still just a little bit backed up from the mall at Southtown up to just past 90th South. From system install to fast fixes to delivering award-winning heating, cooling, plumbing, and electrical, call Whipple Service Champions for the win today. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
Well, we're expecting sunny skies and a high of 77 degrees today. We could heat up to 82 degrees tomorrow and 84 degrees on Friday. Right now, partly cloudy and 70 degrees in Salt Lake City. I'm Verl Johansson from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
When we were listening, Holly, last Friday to Governor Cox speak about the horrible murder that we've been talking about of Charlie Kirk, and the fact that I think he started the conversation with "we've got him" or something like that. They had a suspect in custody, and he said something that I could tell made you sort of cringe a little bit, which was something to the effect, and I'll probably get it wrong, that, words didn't cause this, politics didn't cause this, other things didn't cause this, a person caused this. And you took a little bit of issue with that, but there is more going on. I mean, only one person is charged, and only one person
Right.
will ever be charged. But there are certain other things that happen in connection with things like this that cause a person to go off. And I don't know. I'm looking at your article, and I think it's really telling. But help me with what you were thinking when you wrote this. And I'm talking about an article that was published in the Deseret News by my co-host Holly Richardson. Opinion: words matter.
Yeah, this was yesterday. It was published yesterday morning. But look, first of all, I have to give credit to Governor Cox for also saying we need to come together, right? We need to heal some of these deep divides that we're seeing. He is correct that only one person fired that gun, right? But words are powerful, and I think we have a responsibility to use them powerfully. One of the things that we've talked about on this show before is people toss around death threats without like they're candy. Like, that seems weird to me that we're so casual that we can't even tell if it's a serious death threat or a not serious death threat. Like, which ones do you take, right? But I will say this. I started my article by saying that words can be used powerfully. I love words, by the way, but they have the power to soothe. I've used words as a midwife to help a mom through labor. And of course, as a mom, you use your words all the time with your kids, hopefully in good ways and sometimes in not so good ways, right? But I've also done a lot of work on burnout, and you can use words to help burnout, but also help with healing through traumatic events. And in the 1970s, a researcher named James Pennebaker did some studies with journaling, and he called it journaling for healing. You can find now just well over 100 studies. That makes it, of course, scientifically valid. You've got all these studies that can replicate the results. But basically had college students at that point write for 15 minutes a day for 5 days in a row about some event that they were concerned about / traumatized by that had happened in their life. They weren't supposed to rehash it necessarily, just maybe lessons they'd learned or something like that, or even thoughts and emotions that they had about it. 15 minutes a day for 5 days. 6 months later, there were still positive impacts from that, from 5 days. Right? Because they were able to process in a different way. It's not just regurgitating stuff and sometimes you need to do that first, right? But looking at how you can process. So it can be words can be used to heal as well.
Well, let's talk about the persuasive value of words. And I'm
Absolutely.
thinking about my own life because as an attorney, and I'd just like you to comment on this a little bit, what I do at a trial is a closing argument. And it is, I'm standing in front of 12 people, which I never dreamt I would have done 40, 50 years ago, and trying to persuade them to a particular idea, The state says this happened. Greg says this happened. And because they've heard the evidence.
Oh, yeah.
They've heard all the evidence, but we still allow the words. We still allow you can show pictures and say, hey, jury, what happened?
Right.
But at the end of the day, the judge says, let's hear your word. Let's hear your words.
What we do here is using our words, right? And we know that the ability to tell story, which is I think what you do as an attorney as you're presenting to the jury, you're creating a story, right? It's something that they can see in their heads. It's something they can see in their minds, right? As they think about this, this mom who was, viciously attacked and assaulted, rather than saying, Sarah Jones from down the street, right? I mean, story is powerful, and story comes from words. And we know that story sticks in our heads way more than just plain words. In fact, I remember doing one time a workshop with a group of professors, and they were saying, I've got this really interesting study, but nobody seems to care. And she was trying to write an op-ed, and I was giving some recommendations. And I looked at it, and the facts were there. But I said, do you have a story? Do you have a person that you can use to show how whatever this study showed really impacted an individual? And that's what you're doing as an attorney. And she said, oh, yeah. And she could think of somebody right off the bat, right? It's those types of things. How do you take data? Look, data can be boring sometimes. I get it. If you look at social media, what they're doing, it's story. It's storytelling, right? So that's how words can be used. And sometimes if you don't like the way the stories are being told, you can call it propaganda, but marketing, right? We know that marketers, they use our stories to market to us. Sure. Now we have it online and it's digital, but it used to be magazines. Magazines used to pay really big money for people to say, the people who like our kind of magazine, what did they like? Where do they shop? And then they would go after those advertisers and say, hey, we have people in this community, and we think if you advertise there, this is what you'll see as, bang for your buck, your ROI.
So when I read the article, I was thinking about the timing of it in light of what we're talking about, and not the homicide,
that's right,
but the bigger picture, the picture that I think Governor Cox tried to paint,
right?
And so what were you?
So
what prompted you to write
that
this?
Is what prompted me, because people want to know. People are saying we need to bridge this political divide. We need to ratchet down the political heat. How do you do that? Words is one of the ways you do that, right? And being able to, you don't have to qualify your statements. I agree, but, or I disagree, but, right? Words are a way to tone down that political heat, and how that can bridge divides. First of all, I think it's okay for people to know it's okay to be afraid to speak up. We see that there can be consequences, and sometimes they're really not very fun. We also know that there's a lot of articles that have been published recently. I look at the Deseret News every day, but I look at many publications every day, lots of them being published right now about what we can do. I think sometimes we can use our words to be stone catchers. And by that, I mean what Brian Stevenson means when he says, look, sometimes we have to speak up for injustice, but that doesn't mean we have to be hateful, right? It doesn't mean that we're saying you're evil. It can mean that we're saying everybody needs an opportunity for due process in this country, right? It can be that you're writing to your elected officials or to your paper or you're having group conversations with your neighbors, right? It can mean those kinds of things too. I think words can be written. I think they can be spoken. And I think it's really important that we use our ability to listen. We need to listen. Tell me more. Stay curious. Greg, tell me why you think that. I don't understand that point of view. Can you please share more why this is impacting you so much, or why do you feel this way? I'd love to understand more. And I think we need a lot more of that, right? Stephen Covey used to say, too many of us listen with the intent to reply. So we're formulating an answer in our head when people are having a discussion. We need to listen to understand. And that means we really listen and we engage. And it's hard to hate people up close.
Right. When you're sitting next to them having a conversation with them, no matter what it's about.
Yeah,
Right.
and I have found no matter who I talk to, I can find at least one point of commonality with them. There's something where we connect our humanity, something.
Thanks,
right?
Holly. Yeah. That was great. When we come back, you know what today is? You like your days. You like your fun facts. Today is
Constitution
We're
Day.
going to break that down after the break. Stay with us. And if you have good news, 57500.
Emergency traffic on KSL News Radio, brought to you by Mountain America. Turn everyday spending into an extraordinary escape. The closure remains in place westbound to I-84 due to a rolled semi prior to the Morgan exit. All traffic will be diverted to I-80 at Echo Junction, and you'll have to travel through Summit County to get into the valley. Then our other hot spot, it's in Utah County, a crash involving multiple vehicles, possible injuries, northbound I-15 in Linden. Now, this is a few miles prior to the Pleasant Grove exit. Only one left lane of traffic is open, and that's causing heavy stop-and-go delays into Orem. You want to consider avoiding northbound I-15 altogether if you're coming up from Provo into Orem. Consider Highway 89 to go northbound in Utah County, then you can rejoin at Pleasant Grove. Wasatch Front businesses and property managers, GoPave Utah provides all asphalt repairs for your parking. For patching and paving along the Wasatch Front, contact GoPave Utah. GoPave Utah, GoPaveUtah.com. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
It all started with a commitment to comfort. Gillette Heating and Air is proud to be Utah County's go-to team for expert HVAC and plumbing solutions. Need a repair, upgrade, or seasonal tune-up? Don't let cost hold you back. With 0% financing available, it's easy to get the work done now and pay later. Plus, save $100 on any repair over $500 and keep your system running strong with a professional tune-up before the heat hits. Visit GilletteHVAC.com or call 385-GET-COOL to book today. Homegrown service pros, financing made simple, comfort made easy.
Carrier, turn to the experts. A Carrier factory authorized dealer.
KSL offers the best daily newsletter in the state. It's the 3 things you need to know. Every weekday, we deliver quality and relevant content to your inbox. No ads, no spam, just the 3 things you need to know to be informed about the world around you. Subscribe today. Visit KSLNewsRadio.com or text the word inbox to 57500. That's inbox to 57500.
Hi, this is Doug Ryden. For years, I've been telling you about products I truly believe in and that we use in our home. And one is Kinetico. We all know the downsides of hard water, tough on home appliances, frustrating spots on shower doors, but it also affects your personality. When you shower, does the water feel invigorating? Hard water can leave your skin feeling sticky and itchy. A Kinetico soft water system changes everything. It's like having a luxurious spa experience when you shower, making your daily routine something you look forward to. Kinetico, it's a difference you can feel. Their patented system uses far less salt than competitors, and they're exclusively focused on water softeners. They're the experts in their field, and they'll show you the difference for free with no obligation to buy. Call Connecticut Quality Water Systems of Salt Lake, an authorized independent dealer, at 801-576-8600, or check them out online at softwaterutah.com. Start enjoying your water. Spoil yourself every day.
This is Derek Miller speaking on business. Idaho National Laboratory has spent over 75 years advancing scientific research in nuclear technology. Its pioneering work has served as the foundation for more than 300 commercial nuclear power reactors operating worldwide. Regional Engagement Lead Laura Nelson joins us with more.
As one of 17 national laboratories in the U.S. Department of Energy complex, we're proud to call Idaho National Laboratory home to more than 6,400 researchers and support staff. Every day, we work to advance innovations in nuclear research, integrated energy systems, and security solutions that are transforming the world. From groundbreaking discoveries in advanced nuclear energy to developing reliable, sustainable energy options and protecting the nation's most critical infrastructure, our talented team is constantly pushing boundaries to redefine what's possible. Through strong partnerships with organizations, universities, and industry leaders, we help drive research and development across Utah's diverse energy ecosystem. These collaborations foster innovation, create economic opportunities, and strengthen the region's leadership in clean, secure, and resilient energy systems. Learn more about Idaho National Laboratory's work and partnerships by visiting inl.gov.
Idaho National Laboratory turns innovation into real-world results, helping the state lead in energy, support local industries, and create lasting benefits for residents and the economy. I'm Derek Miller with the Salt Lake Chamber, speaking on business.
Join Mike Stevens of Capital Wealth Advisors for Retire Right Radio, Saturdays at 5 a.m. and 9 p.m. That's Retire Right Radio with Mike Stevens, Saturdays at 5 a.m. and 9 p.m.
Inside Sources.
Welcome back to Inside Sources, and the good news of the day, and that today is, in fact, what?
It's Constitution Day. So the reason it's on September 17th is because that's the day the Constitution was signed back in 1787. But it wasn't ratified until the next June. So it took quite a while for it to work through the process.
Written in 1787, ratified in 1788, and put into operation in 1789. It's the world's longest surviving written charter of government.
Yeah.
Begins with 3 words.
We the people.
Yeah, and so some people think of the Constitution, and correctly so, as the first and second and third and fourth through the 10th. Well, we're up to a zillion now, but the Bill of Rights are the first 10 amendments. But they think of that as the Constitution. Those are amendments to the Constitution. The Constitution really begins with we the people, and then it goes through what are called articles, not amendments. And Article 1, of course, establishes the legislature and gives them the powers, and really goes through a thorough explanation of that. Article 2 is the president and outlines his or her powers. And Article 3, of course, is the judiciary, the 3 branches of government.
That's
and then it goes on to other things that talk about the interaction between the states and full faith and credit and that type of thing. But the Constitution establishes, in my world, in the legal world, we talk about laws, we talk about rules, we talk about this and that. Ultimately, if it doesn't fly by the Constitution, it doesn't exist.
Right. We the people, in order to form a more perfect union. And, I never did memorize the whole thing, but I know school kids who have memorized the whole thing. And we've talked a lot about the First Amendment, which is, you're right, it was an addition a little bit later, but the First Amendment is a really important part of that. And we have talked a lot about that in the last week or so.
Oh, it's been huge in what we're dealing with, because what does the First Amendment mean? And we're breaking it down by the day.
Right.
What is speech? What is free speech? What's protected speech? And what's not protected speech?
Right.
And what does the government, because the Constitution says the government
and what's
pass
freedom
law,
of the press?
Right.
What's freedom of religion?
Right. The government and keep in mind that the amendments to the Constitution, who was it? One of our guests talked about it, the fact that it was a soundbite we heard, but the Constitution applies to the government. You know what I mean? Like, we talk about,
it's to restrain government from imposing on the people.
Right.
Yeah.
So an employer can restrict an employee's First Amendment rights by saying, if you say that, I'll fire you. But the government can't say, if you say that, we will
destroy your business.
Imprison you. Yeah.
Well, that's what again, that's part of the conversation, right? So today is Constitution Day. Happy Constitution Day. If you look at any of your local places. I'm sure KSL has something too, but there's information about Constitution Day events, right? So there are some places that have done like little readings in the park. There are places that do other ways to honor Constitution Day.
I remember in law school, constitutional law was my least favorite class. But in
Really?
the practice of law,
Interesting.
it's the most important thing we do.
Yeah, I bet.
I mean, in my world,
Yeah.
especially the criminal world, Bill of Rights, the 4th, 5th, 6th, and even 8th Amendment, you talk about, search and seizure. What's the right of the people? How are we protected from the government?
Look, we have a texter who just said Rex Lee reminded us. Rex Lee gave a fabulous talk on the Constitution, right? So there are people who they've spoken on this a lot, right? Of course, it's the foundation of our government, and I think
I'd like to get a copy of that.
Some of the
Rex Lee's
things,
comments,
I'm sure I can find it, but some of the things that we just take for granted in this country came from the Constitution, right? We take it for granted.
Right.
That we can say things, right? We take it for granted that we can go to whatever church we want to. And freedom of religion and separation of church and state, right? The freedom of religion means the state is not going to force you to attend a religion. It's not that you can't have prayer in your workplace if you're the owner, right? It's that the state is not going to say we are going to declare a state religion and you must belong to this or else.
And what's interesting also about the Constitution is, let's say it's written in 1787, so we're 240 years later still trying to figure out what it means. We're still trying to redefine it, and because it was an inspired document from whatever source of inspiration is, but it was something that it is the longest
and it's been durable,
for,
right? It's been durable. It's interesting. We could have a conversation about what originalist means, because I'm a fan of being able to vote, and I'm a fan of slavery being outlawed, and that was not part of the original.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying.
Right.
Okay. Other fun facts. On this day, speaking of around that time, George Washington prepared the final draft of his farewell address on this day. He was working on it, I guess, in 1796. I learned some things about that when I listened to a biography of Alexander Hamilton, and it was Hamilton who wrote the bulk of the draft. He was the speechwriter for George Washington.
And it was Washington's farewell address?
Yeah.
On this day in
1796.
So,
and it was published
9 years after the
that's right.
Constitution. Yeah.
Yeah. It was published in the paper rather than like stand up and give this big. He published it in a paper. Right?
Hey, I'm quitting.
Yeah.
a little more than
See you
that.
later.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Peace out.
In 1849, and this was one that my 11-year-old, she loves to write about this person. With the help of the Underground Railroad, Harriet Tubman escaped to freedom. This would be the first time that she escaped, because she kept going back to get people and take them on the railroad. She became an Underground Railroad conductor. But my little daughter, she's technically a granddaughter, but she just was really enamored with her, and she has written multiple reports on Harriet Tubman. And last year she had to do a report on somebody in history. She did not do Harriet that time. She did Martha Hughes Cannon, so I was very happy with that.
I'm sure everybody knows this, but remind some of our younger listeners what that meant.
Martha Hughes Cannon?
No,
or Harriet Tubman. Oh, the Underground Railroad was when slaves were able to escape from slavery states, mostly in the South, and go to places where they did not have slavery, where they could be free. Yeah. So there were way stations, right? The reason they called it a railroad is because there were specific stops, like you would have a stop on a railroad, right? And so she was called a conductor because she would go get people. She knew the route. She would take them. One of the things that's fascinating really about some of the Underground Railroad things is there were ways for slaves at that time to communicate with each other. They used songs. There's at least apocryphal stories, at least oral tradition, that they used quilt patterns to be able to communicate. Today's not a good day, but tomorrow, they would hang things, the way they hung things, the way they sung their songs, they were able to communicate with other slaves. But Harriet Tubman was really quite amazing.
How did I know that if I asked you what the Underground Railroad was, you were going to give a beautiful 90-second description that I learned a lot from?
Know a lot about a lot of things.
I guess so.
Anyway, I love all those things. But we also have, let's see, on this day, I already went off.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. It's all related, actually. So on this day in 1858, Dred Scott was a U.S. slave. He sought to sue for his freedom, and he died of tuberculosis on this day in 1858. But also on this day in 1862, this was the Battle of Antietam. Is that how you say it? It was the bloodiest day in U.S. history. It was the really
Civil War battle.
Yeah, Civil War. Yeah. So all of those. So that they're all kind of related. And then
a lot of U.S. history to this day.
Yeah.
I mean, everything we've talked about is huge in terms of United States history.
Yeah. On September 17th.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah. And on this day in 1900, John Willard Marriott was born.
The Marriott?
The Marriott, for the Marriott Hotels.
Right.
Before he founded an international hotel chain, he opened an A&W root beer restaurant in Washington, D.C.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But this was his birthday in 1900.
And yesterday was the birthday of J.C. Penney.
Yeah, that's right.
Today is John J.W. Marriott.
That's right. That's right. We only have a few seconds left, but I'll say this. In 1978, the Camp David Accords were signed. So do you remember about that?
I don't.
So Camp David Accords were peace accords that they brought people to the U.S. It was Egyptian President Anwar Sadat, Israeli Prime Minister Menachem Begum, and I think it was Carter, if I remember correctly. Yeah, coming to Camp David to sign peace agreements.
Yeah, and the rest is history.
And they didn't hold.
Yeah, well. Well, I'll tell you who will hold is Maria Chaleos. She's up next on midday. She'll continue the coverage of UVU students returning to campus for the first time today after the killing of Charlie Kirk, which took place a week ago today. Stay with us on KSL News Radio.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Of I-15 do so. Our other hotspot has been a freeway closure. A rolled semi westbound I-84 just before the Morgan exit brought the closure into place in Morgan County.